Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Hey, Tim.
Joe Rogan, thank
What's
you for
up, my
having
brother?
me.
Always good to see you.
Good to be here.
You escaped from L.A. before the massive strike.
Yeah, well, there was I think it didn't affect flights as much as I thought, but it was 11,000 city workers decided to strike. And a lot of those are, but air traffic controllers are federal. But the baggage claims all screwed up. They canceled a bunch of stuff. I don't know. It's 11,000 city workers. I don't know what I think it's a bunch of different groups of them that want stuff.
Yeah, is there like specific demands? Like, is it pay increase?
Maybe they want to stop
healthcare?
getting killed by the homeless. Maybe it's very reasonable. Maybe it has nothing to do with money, and they're like, we just want to stop being like people flinging their excrement at us while we're cleaning the park.
Could be.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the demands are. Maybe they're scared they're going to be replaced by AI, like the actors and writers.
They might be.
Who knows?
You know what the sketchiest thing that I saw about the whole actor-writer thing was that for background players, when people work on a film, they wanted access to their image forever.
Right.
So they would take you and make a digital version of you.
Yeah.
So if you're like a background guy, instead of paying background people to hang around in some crowd
Right.
scene, they will now just fill it in with you. So the same background people, which is like one of the nuttiest fucking like fringe theories of any catastrophe is that you have these actors.
Right.
Like, what do they call them? Crisis actors, right.
Right.
Where these people are hired by the federal government.
Yeah.
And they appear in like multiple different scenarios.
Yeah.
Where they say that something happened to them
Right.
and the shooter entered into the building. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're striking next, the crisis actors. They're going to go, I am worried that my likeness will be used as Sandy Hook in perpetuity without my... Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because it doesn't seem like there's a way to prevent it. You know?
Prevent the
'Cause-
digital use of your imagery?
Well, every business in the world is using AI, right?
Yeah.
And, these movie studios and, streamers spent a lot of money investing in AI technology during the pandemic. A lot of in-house AI projects. And, I imagine that they're going to utilize that technology to some degree. I agree, though, that it's creepy and it will eliminate a lot of jobs. And if there's a way to stop them, great. But is there?
There's no way.
There doesn't seem to be a way.
No, that train is rolling, and there's
Right.
a lot of track in front of it, and it has insane momentum, and you're
Yeah.
not going to put your hand out and stop it.
Yeah. You might mitigate the effects. Maybe the government would pass like a law saying, listen, you can't replace more than 10% of your workforce with AI over the next 5 years. I don't know if that would even be a feasible thing to do, but maybe they could do something like that. Like,
The problem is, if you have a business and the business can be better run by AI, do you have a responsibility to hire human beings to do a lesser job?
great question.
It's a real good question.
Great and
Just
if you
an
listen to
ethical,
these
moral question.
like Drake songs that they're coming out with AI, so Eminem song that just came out with, they're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
I was just having a conversation with Post Malone about it. Because, Post uses like auto-tune, but he writes all his own songs, and he performs all his own songs. And I think his fans want to know that's him singing the song. They would probably still enjoy a fake Post Malone song. But, dude, I saw him live last night. When you see these people singing along with him, it's something really powerful, man.
Yeah.
It's not just like a regular concert. They fucking love that dude.
Well, look at the Taylor Swift thing, which I
Yes.
feel very left out of because I'm the only person that has not seen it, and I don't get it. Like, she's clearly talented, and God bless. I just don't have that thing where
but
I'm
you're
like,
not a girl. That's
yeah,
all
but
it is.
but the dudes are there too.
Yeah, Dave Portnoy loves it.
A lot of people love it, and I don't get it, and I don't begrudge anyone else getting it. It's just not.
But maybe if you go to one live, you'll get it.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be a spectacular show.
Sure.
Like tons of dancers and visuals.
Great. Yeah, that's phenomenal. I grew up listening to people like Tina Turner and Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
So to me, it's
Right.
like Taylor Swift. It's different. It's
Yeah.
different. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to be attacked. I don't want people following me home.
It's just
it's different.
You know what I mean? It's like this is like the same thing about the Barbie movie.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not for you.
that's right.
And if it's not for you and you're
That's okay.
going and giving this scathing review of
Right.
something that's clearly not for you.
Right.
Look, I get it if that's your business. You're in the culture war business. You're in the critique business.
Yeah.
You're in the reaction video business.
Right.
I get it. I
Right.
get it. But just as like a rational person.
Yeah.
Like imagine being mad that people like Taylor Swift.
No, there's no anger. I actually, in like most cultural things, I wish I got it. My life would be easier if I got, like, I would be more included. I would be able to participate in conversations easier.
Yeah.
I want to be in.
Right.
All these things that people like that I can't get into, I want to be in.
The Barbie movie is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because it is clearly a movie that's made for girls and
Right.
everybody else. But
Right.
also, it's a Barbie movie.
Right.
Barbies appeal to girls. It's like saying Commando was not just for guys.
Right.
You know, with Arnold
There's a few.
Schwarzenegger. I mean, it's probably,
There's a few people on the margins that will like it. Right. There's
Yeah,
a few lesbians
sure.
that go to see Commando and they're very into it. Few gay men really love Barbie, but
Right.
the vast majority, it is gender specific.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's like a tremendous amount of outrage about that movie. And when I went to see it, apparently people are upset at my reaction to it.
Why?
Because I was genuinely surprised that anyone would be upset at the movie.
Right.
Because like it's just what they're mad about is talking about the patriarchy. But first of all, it's a fucking parody movie.
Right.
It's a movie about a doll who comes to life, and you have a doll who lives in that world where the doll's the most important thing, and it's all
Right.
about Barbie and Barbie's world. Of course, the men would be superficial. Ken is superficial.
Right.
That's the plot. That's the.
the
How
whole
else
thing.
are you going to make a Barbie movie where Barbie comes to life? I mean, it's a great juxtaposition, like seeing the difference between the world of living human beings, where men are running everything, and the world of Barbie world, where the Barbies are the Supreme Court, and they all
Right.
wear bikinis on the Supreme Court.
That's funny.
It's funny.
That's funny.
Dude, it's a funny movie, man.
Yeah.
It's like I just don't understand why people would get so upset at this movie that's just not made for them.
Well, because
And
it's how you said it. It's how you make money.
yeah, but
So
it's
if
like
that's how
this
you make
culture
money.
war aspect
Yeah.
of it. It's like, come on, people.
Well, there's, I think, an idea that, that everything that's out right now, there's political implications to everything.
Everything.
And that's kind of
Food.
exhausting,
Yeah.
right? It's tiring, right? Figuring out if your yogurt is woke. Like going through your opening your refrigerator and going, what's woke? Is the mustard woke? It's crazy. And I think people are a little sick of it. And I think it's a little, first of all the food's poison. Let's start there. That should make more sense. It should be the barbecue sauce is liquid sugar poison, not does it want trans people, to fucking take their tits out at the White House. It's food, and it shouldn't, but it's a level of wild that, I don't think people were prepared for. I think Bud Light made a little bit of a mess, right?
Yeah.
They put Dillon Mulvaney out there, and then I think people, were kind of like, hey, what's going on? And then it just became a firestorm, and then like everything else is like contagion.
Yeah.
So it spreads now, and now it's like, well, what is Chick-fil-A doing? Are they doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing?
Yeah.
It's getting tiring.
Conservatives are trying to find fake conservatives.
Yes.
Like they're engaging in the same sort of behavioral that they
Yes.
accuse liberals doing of these liberal witch hunts.
Yes.
They're doing it with conservatives. Like you could never be woke enough. You could never be conservative enough. Some of them
Right.
want to call people closet liberals, or that term rhino.
Yeah.
Republican in name only.
Yes,
It's
for sure.
It's fat. The tribal war between
Yeah.
human beings that seemingly will always exist.
It'll never end.
It's so fascinating how that mindset just takes new forms, you
Yeah.
know, and has the same behavior that the thing that it hated decades earlier, like on the left, like this want for war in Ukraine, this trust in
Yes.
the military-industrial complex in Ukraine. Like,
Yes.
what happened to you guys?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are a totally different thing. Like, no one's discussing.
Every argument made against, rightly, the Iraq war and the
Yes.
Afghanistan war. Like, what's the plan?
Yes.
We're going to be in a quagmire.
Yes.
The money would be better used at home. All of those arguments were used, ad nauseum by people on the left, and they were right. And now if you bring up any of those arguments about the Ukraine, you're called heartless.
It's weird.
You're called a Putin apologist.
It's weird.
So
And
it's weird.
The best take on it was Trump.
Right.
When he was doing that, what is her name? Caitlin Collins? Is that what her name is? The journalist that was asking him, and she was kind of like trying to say in a gotcha way.
Right. Who do you want to win?
Do you want Ukraine to win this war? And he said, I just want people to stop dying. And that is somehow controversial.
Yeah, and that's
because it's coming from him.
Right. Anything that he says, no matter how logical it is, people are going to attack.
100%.
And that was a very logical statement. I just want people to stop dying. By the way, that's the appropriate response to truly, really every war out there.
Yeah.
Is that there's been no war that really hasn't been won with some type of agreement, treaty, compromise, right? Most wars have some type of end game where you can go, okay, we got to split up territory, we got to start a provisional government, whatever it is. Now, this might be more difficult to do that, but at the end of the day, unending conflict only hurts the people in those countries fighting the wars and becoming victims of the wars. They don't hurt the people here making a lot of money.
It's just so sketchy whenever money gets involved.
Yes.
Whenever you're realizing that people have an incentive to keep this rolling to the tune of who knows how many billions of dollars so far. Like, how much has been spent on that war so far?
Oh, my God. I mean, it's over $1 trillion probably. You know, we spent a lot of money. Well, what got me interested, what was why I started to read about it and, you know, was like overnight, the worst people in the world were absolutely in love with the Ukraine. Like the people that, you know, again, the pro-Iraq war, pro-Guantanamo Bay, pro-torture, preemptive war. They all were like very much across the board the idea that we have to support the Ukraine for as long as it takes and give them whatever it takes. And I felt like that was crazy because we've seen that in the past bite us in the ass a lot of different places. And they all, I mean, these are like the worst people in the world. The people in Beverly Hills who are like, make valets cry, who are like, get my fucking car. Like those people, they all had Ukrainian flags on the outside of their house. But they didn't care about Yemen. They don't care about what goes on in the Middle East in terms of like the Palestinians or, you know, what's happening over there. They don't care about a lot of issues and a lot of places, but they seem to really believe that we had to arm the Ukraine and engage in kind of this proxy war with Russia for an unending period of time, no matter how dangerous it got. And Russia's a country with a lot of nuclear weapons. So, I mean, what is the American national interest in that continued policy? I don't know. Go to any city in America, right? And you see a lot of problems. Homelessness, drug addiction, all of the money we're sending to the Ukraine probably could be used here.
Right. And there was a long period where everybody knew that there should be something done to clean up the places that got hit by the riots, to deal with some of the homeless encampments. There should be a way where reasonable people can come to some solution. We need funding to fix these things.
Yeah.
But the fact they just all of a sudden have trillions of dollars for this.
Right.
It's like, where was all that money? Like, why?
Right.
What about investing in cities? What about?
Well, in the beginning, it was we want peace, and Ukraine was invaded by Russia, and I understand, you know, supporting the Ukraine to a degree. But now we're talking about the only acceptable outcome is regime change in Russia.
All right.
And then there was this guy, this hot dog warlord, this guy who had sold hot dogs and then was chopping people's heads off. Okay, he did this like fake coup that didn't work, and everybody in our media was like, he's going to be great. Let's get rid of Putin, who, you know, his problems, his faults notwithstanding, and he's a murderer, he's done crazy things, but we've lived with him for 20 years in relative peace, meaning like we've never had a war with him, right?
Right.
He's done things in his region, but he was the first leader after 9/11 to call us and say, you know, like, hey, I'm sorry about that, da-da-da-da-da. Whatever the case may be, we were ready to just get rid of him and throw in a dude who hours before was lobbing people's heads off in the street.
Wild.
And so that to me is like you start looking at foreign policy going, does anyone care about anything? Like, do anybody, like this guy's a mass murderer. He's running the Wagner Group, which is like, you know, this group of like prisoners, ex-prisoners that he recruited from Soviet prisons, from Russian prison. And these are like murderers and rapists. He's going, let's go to the Ukraine and kill everybody. And then everybody's like, no, he'd be great. doesn't make too much sense to me. And then that doesn't happen, and everyone goes, eh.
What the crazy thing is that it's been adopted wholesale by the left.
Yes.
The people that are always the most skeptical about war.
Well, but I mean, if you look at a lot of wars, I guess in history, a lot of them have been started by Democrats. It seems like the party in power likes war. Seems like if you're the party in power in this country, you do like a war. With the exception of Trump, and I know people get mad when I say this, but Trump wasn't in a ton of wars. I mean, he did do some drone strikes, he did things, but the party in power.
He died like a dog.
Right, right. The party in power, they seem to like war. And I get it. I would too, because it gives you something to talk about and do.
Well, Trump was the first guy that I ever saw who was a sitting president who openly admitted that the military-industrial complex wants you to go to war.
Yeah.
Like when Eisenhower was resigning, he said it, but Trump actually said that.
He said it.
In an interview, I think it was with Steve Hilton on Fox.
Yeah.
Which is just a wild thing to hear, that they might be influenced to
Yeah.
be more inclined to get, not wars when they're necessary, but
Yeah.
like wars that they can justify for financial reasons.
And listen, we should treat the people that serve the military with the respect of being honest with them about what their mission is, right? And why they're somewhere.
Yeah.
If you're going to make the ultimate sacrifice for America, you're going to make that sacrifice. You're going to put yourself in harm's way. You might die. You have a family and kids. They're not getting paid millions of dollars. We're not making them famous. They're not, you know what I mean? Like, we should treat them with the respect of like the things they do should be vital and necessary for our security. They shouldn't just be out there making people money.
Right. Exactly.
Which is why when I run for governor of California, which I should,
You could probably win.
I actually thought about it, maybe not seriously, but, maybe I said, why not? Why not?
You would really get a lot of votes.
There's something about it because
If you were serious about it?
I might be serious about it because like the only thing that's going to be against me is the hours and hours I have of me talking. That's going to be tough because people are going to be able to isolate lots of things I've said, and they're going to go, "Hey, this is crazy."
But
I also might get bored with the job in a week and quit.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. I might just book like a comedy club in
Des Moines.
Yeah, it's nowhere good, and I might just leave and go, "This is kind of boring," because I don't think I don't know. Running seems great. Winning is great. Governing seems terrible.
It doesn't seem like it's totally doable.
That's right.
It seems like whatever changes you make. First of all, imagine you're a guy or a gal or a non-binary person who just becomes the president. You have to run in and fix all of the chaos. You have to deal with everything involving foreign policy. You're responsible for everything involving infrastructure, transportation, anything financial. You're responsible for all the failures. You get very little credit for the success. They'll just name the innovators in each field that did this.
And it is a thankless job. And that's why they steal. That is why they steal. Like, you got to give it to them. The reason Pelosi and them steal is because she's like, listen, you motherfuckers didn't care about the student lunch program we did. No one reported on that. So the reality is we're going to have to take a little off the top.
You think that's what it is?
That's probably what it is.
I think they just get used to that job.
That grift?
I think people, and I think that's how people who are relatively good people become politicians and get tainted by it.
Right.
I think when you get inside the machine and you realize that influence has a massive effect on all sorts of decisions that get made, and that there's some sort of weird loophole that allows you to know about laws that are going to be passed in advance and then buy stock in accordance to what you know. And it's not insider trading. It's not illegal.
It should be.
And they all do it. Like if you look at the congressman, it's right and left. They're all
but
doing
it's got to be it's got to suck to be the guy who goes to Washington who doesn't do it.
Yeah.
You got to suck so much. Like if you get there and you're from some shit state, right? Delaware, something. And you get there and like you're going to ruin the party, you're going to blow the whistle. Like everybody's like, dude, this is how we make our money.
Right.
And you're the guy fucking that up. That's got to be a lot of pressure.
They would kill you. It's
They'd
like New York City cops.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like that movie, The 7-5.
Yeah.
You know, first day on the job, he sees a guy get thrown out of a window. It's like, he jumped, right? And they're like, yeah, definitely jumped. You guys just killed somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's so much pressure because you don't want to be on the outs with everybody.
Yeah, especially when you are involved in this business. It's very competitive, right? You're getting elected all the time. You're competing with other people. You're trying to get your name out there, and you're in this world where all these people that are in this world are doing this thing. You're going to do that thing too, probably. You'd have to be like, or you'd have to be very vocal against it, and that would be a real problem.
Or you got to be a guy like Bernie Sanders who like gets nothing done. People just like him.
Yeah.
He's liked, but he gets nothing done. He's from Vermont. He's like, I'm cool. I believe in shit. Everybody's like, good for you. And then nothing happened.
I think it would have been an interesting one-term president.
Yeah.
It would have been very
interesting.
It would have been very interesting if there was no shenanigans, right? If the DNC didn't rig the primaries.
Right.
Because they kind of did, right? I don't know how they did it, but this is something that, what's that woman's name? Who wrote that book? Donna
Brazil?
Donna Brazil. Yeah. She talked about it. And she talked about being terrified after Seth Rich got murdered.
Right.
You know?
She was terrified for her own life?
Sure. I mean,
right.
So look, like just random violence.
House of Cards.
Not murder, but random violence is common in D.C. Like, D.C. is a...
Right. But also that probably wasn't
random.
And that House of Cards, if you rewatch it, I rewatched it, it is probably pretty close to the way things happen. I mean, listen, do they make it fun to watch? Absolutely. I guarantee when everybody's being blackmailed and controlled and people disappear and die, that probably is close to the way it works.
Probably real close.
Yeah. But then you think, how else could it work? Right? Like, it's weird to envision. It's almost weirder to think of it not working like that in a weird way. Not to be too cynical about it, but just imagining people showing up in like good faith, debating each other and being like, well, I see your point and well, I have a point. Like, it feels like that's a total fantasy. That would be great. And I'd love that to happen. That feels more of a fantasy than House of Cards, where they're like, oh, you don't want to vote on that bill? Take a look at that envelope. And it's just you and some chick you're fucking walking out of a restaurant. That seems to be more the way it happens.
Definitely more the way it happened in the past.
Right.
And we know that. So probably more likely it happens like that now.
Right.
Imagine being in any other business where when your friend drowns in front of your house, everybody's like, right. Any other business, like if you're a comic, like if you came over my house and drowned, no one would think I killed you.
No one.
They would just think you drowned.
Absolutely.
But if you're a politician, if I was
people
the president,
would be very not shocked if I drowned. It would be, it would be a very like believable. You could drown me, and there'd be marks around my neck. They'd be like, that fat idiot fell. Choked himself and died. Like, it would be easy.
Right.
Yeah. Any of our friends, for the most part, not all of them.
Pretty much everybody except for Alex Jones.
Most people we know could die, and it would be a very believable story.
Yes.
Just some dumb thing they did or some. Yeah.
It does happen.
But when a chef is on a pond outside of your house, by the way, when you're not there, like you're letting the chef use your estate when you're not there, doesn't that seem weird that the Obamas were like, oh, no, you go use it. Yeah, that $11 million house we have in Martha's Vineyard, you use it. Doesn't that seem odd?
Well, if the house is that big, though, it probably has a guest house.
If they were there, it makes sense. He's cooking for them.
But weren't they on the island, though?
I don't know. But
I think they're saying they were on the island. The problem is we can't have access to the recordings. The 9/11 calls, because you'll hear satanic sounds in the background.
Yeah, of course, right.
You hear
well, there was also
there's
weird stuff with the police log with that, where they didn't
gongs.
They didn't they didn't fill it out immediately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, there's shady stuff. But listen, here's the reality: if you're the Obamas and you can't kill someone you want, what is the point? Literally, what is the point?
But imagine if you're the Obamas and your friend just fucking drowns.
Yes.
I mean...
And you didn't have anything to do with it.
Maybe
That's
he
unfortunate.
had a reaction to some medication.
Poison that you gave him, yes.
Or maybe it's some medication that a lot of people took.
And to me,
and
I'm
he has
like...
a heart attack.
A lot of people near these people die. That's my only thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're like a dog walker for the Clintons, or you're like a like if you're near either the Bush family, the Clinton family, like a lot of these families, the people that are with them, they're Secret Service agents. They have accidents. They hear a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They overhear stuff. They're party to things. They see things, and then a lot of them just they have accidents.
Yeah. Whoopsies.
Bye.
Whoops.
Sorry.
All of a sudden, the guy's hanging from an extension cord and shoots himself in the chest with a shotgun.
That seems,
Yeah.
unlikely.
And where'd they find the shotgun? How far away did they find it from his body? Some very unusual distance.
I'd be so disappointed if we find out none of it's true.
Oh, yeah.
I would be so disappointed if we find out that all of them died of natural causes. I would be so disappointed.
When there's like 50 people that have died under suspicious circumstances,
Right.
At least one of them, right? It says the 12-gauge shotgun was 30 feet from his body when he was found dead.
Right. Well, he shot himself and then threw it.
30 feet is very far. That could be that. Here's the thing. If you are actually holding a shotgun and shooting it in your chest, there's not going to be any resistance on the other end.
Right.
So it's essentially like a rocket. So it's not because of the way you would have to do it to shoot yourself in the chest with a shotgun.
Right.
It's possible.
It's
it's possible that it would go flying.
And then it would fly out.
Yeah, it would go
Interesting.
flying. So maybe he was just super troubled, and that is what he did.
You just got to think about it. If you occupy that level of society and somebody's threatening you, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
If you have the, whatever you want to call it, the ambition, the ruthlessness to get there, and somebody's trying to take that from you.
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you handle it? You try to blacken their name in the press. You try to besmirch them. And if that doesn't work, what do you do? Do you just say, okay, I guess we're just going to get taken down by a scandal? Or do you just say, hey, we got to take care of this?
I think it really depends on who you are and what kind of access to people you have.
I can't imagine anybody getting to that level of society.
Right.
And letting themselves get taken down by someone far below them. Right. Usually when those families get taken out, they're taken out by like an equal. Someone at their level, right? But when someone far below you that you could get rid of, or, it's like that guy outside of that restaurant in L.A., Austria Mozza and Melrose and Highland, whose car just went into a...
Yeah.
It's like things like that happen. And of course, maybe he was drunk and just decided to go 150 miles
You're
an hour.
talking about that journalist.
Michael Hastings, yeah. Things like that happen and they're weird. And you say to yourself, like, did you piss the wrong person off?
And he certainly did.
Yeah. And then how do people at that level deal with it? It makes a lot of sense to me that people like that would use violence to deal with their enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah. To silence their enemies forever. Like, that makes sense to me. But maybe I'm too cynical and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it would make a lot of sense to me that there'd be a meeting. I think the people would meet and they'd go, yeah, we got to take care of this. We can't allow this to become a thing.
Yeah.
And
that's how they've done it throughout history.
Right.
I mean, that's what they did when they got rid of JFK.
That's what Lizzo should have done with those bitches. But those bitches who turned on her because she was trying to help them. First of all, that's not even a character. Like, you don't get to be a fat backup dancer. That doesn't exist. It's not real. Lizzo made that category of person. She made it. And then they turned on her. That's crazy. What
is she accused of?
Fat shaming them, making them rehearse, making them stand up. That's what their version of fat shaming is. Making them stand up and walk onto the stage. Making them rehearse, taking them to a sex club in Amsterdam where the performers are shooting bananas out of their pussies because this is what happens. And Lizzo's like forcing them to touch the nude performers and force one of them to eat a banana that came out of the vagina of a performer, dancer in the sex club. Lizzo makes the girl, she's like, eat the banana. And then the girl gets really angry at that. But supposedly Lizzo was just abusing her power. This is what they're all saying. But I don't know if I buy that. I think it's bitter people, maybe, that are angry. because they all look like Lizzo. This is what's going to drive them nuts. They look exactly like her, and she's worth $40 million, and they're probably getting paid shit. So they're in the background every night dancing, and it ain't easy. It's fun to be on that TV show that she had, but then you have to do it every night. And they're icing their joints. You know, it's hard. They're in the trailer. It's fucking tough. Lizzo had to start getting on some of them, going like, you got to tone it down. You know, it's becoming a problem. You know, the weight is becoming a problem. And then Lizzo's response was she's like, I would never fire any of them because of their weight. It's like, what a weird statement. They're dancers. How fat can they get? How fucking big can they get? If I wanted to be a dancer for Taylor Swift and she came up to me and went, you're too fat to do this, I'd go, that makes sense. And I'd leave with some dignity. But these women, Lizzo has them on stage, she has them dancing, and then all of a sudden, you know, she's abusing or making them do weird shit, and they all are now suing her, and her streaming has slowed down big time. The ads, you know how it is. It's a big cancellation.
So did she... So this show, were these girls dancers before they got on her show?
No,
or
because
just girls?
You can't be a dancer at a certain...
Right.
Let's just be very honest here. They're not at the ballet. You know how the ballerinas are on the tippy toes?
Yes.
That's not happening. These women, it's a fetish dancing.
Yes.
These are larger women. Okay, and I don't mean like, I had a cheesecake. I mean like, these are big ladies, and they're dancing because Lizzo's whole thing, Lizzo's like, I'm not getting enough attention just being the fatty up front. I want everyone on stage to be fat. So I can get more praise.
Right.
Because the media will be like, not only is she fat, everyone's fat. The whole stage looks like shit. How good of a person is she? Whoa. That's what they wanted. I think that's what she wanted. She wanted, it wasn't enough that it was her. It had to be everybody. And that's what bit her in the ass.
But the question was, these gals, how often did they have to dance? Was it like every night? Like, how often was that show? Was it a once a week show? What was it?
I don't know, but they're on tour, so you'd figure when you're they're on tour.
Okay, so they're doing regular shows.
Regular shows.
Now, this is my question. When you're a big girl and you're not exercising, then all of a sudden someone hires you for a dance show because they want big girls.
Right.
And then you have to do that kind of shit every day.
It's tough.
Your body's not prepared for that. Your joints are weak.
It's very hard.
Like you could get really fucked up doing it. It's like asking someone to go into like some crazy cardiovascular workout.
Right. That's it. And they get mad at Lizzo because Lizzo doesn't have to do anything. She just pulls out the flute.
Can I see what it looked like? Can you show me what that show was like?
Can you show us the big girls? Here Come the Big Girls is the show. But I think they're also angry at Lizzo because they're like, we're dancing and rehearsing. She doesn't have to rehearse. Lizzo just kind of walks out on stage and sings her songs and does a little, but then pulls out the flute. These girls have to like dance through the whole thing. So it's difficult. It's hard.
It sounds hard.
It's not easy.
Here's the TV show, I guess.
It's hard for a dancer.
Here we go.
Okay, so there's Lizzo. It's on Amazon Prime Video.
What's up, y'all? It's Lizzo. I'm looking for dancers to join me on my tour. Girls that look like me don't get representation. Time to pull up my sleeves and find them myself. We thick and we pretty and we know what we about. It's the battle of the big girls.
Background dancer for Lizzo would just mean everything.
You could tell how badly this was going to go, by the way.
Hey, ladies! What do we have in store? This is the fun part.
I'm always doubting myself, and I feel like that has been detrimental in how I approach dance. I'm realizing that I do deserve a spot on that stage.
It's hard to love yourself in a world that doesn't love you back. You were created specially in your image for you to enjoy.
You don't have to be light-skinned. You don't have to be skinny. You're just beautiful the way you are.
I need to challenge myself and step outside my comfort zone.
Now I'm going into competition mode.
Some people are not at the same level that I am.
I'm gonna call you Lil Sis.
He's trying to demean me. She's not understanding how to read the room.
You might not make it into the show.
I see a lot of
So what was that one that we just passed through? Well, there was one that like, was that a transgender person?
Yes, I believe that is a transgender person.
Yeah, even in like a quick glance.
Yes, it was a quick. That wasn't, I'll say they didn't do a great job at the fully going to the other gender there. You know what I mean? It's they kind of stopped. And that's fine. Not everyone does a great job all the time at everything.
No, but anybody has
I've brought my car in to get washed, and it comes out, and you go, meh. And that's kind of what that was. But
so the show is basically she's hiring these girls.
These girls, listen.
And then they're going on tour together.
I've had drug addictions. I've had eating things. Like when you are not in a good mental state, which is a lot of the reason people act out with different things, right? With substances, with food, with whatever. Listen, if you have people that are emotionally, that have issues, and Lizzo might have them as well, it's a toxic soup of maybe becomes a problem on tour.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's the idea of a judge having to adjudicate this to me is the funniest thing I've ever. The idea of a judge in a room having to go who called who fat, looking Lizzo's on one side and then the dance, and he's like staring at everybody going, wait, who's who? Who's what? Who's fat? Like, it's crazy, but, it's unfortunate because, they're coming for her career.
Yeah.
They're coming for her career big time.
The show itself seems like it would be a health risk.
It is.
It seems like it would be, right? Like to force people to work out.
Yes.
Part of the lawsuit has to do with the recording that one of the dancers made, and I'm reading this article. This sounds... It's interesting if you guys would want to read it.
Okay.
It's pretty fun.
The suit also describes an alleged meeting with dancers on April 27th at which Lizzo repeatedly referenced Williams' termination, allegedly telling her that she had, quote, eyes and ears everywhere. Davis recorded this meeting because she suffers from an eye condition that can make her, quote, disoriented in stressful situations, according to the suit. Days later, Lizzo allegedly held an emergency meeting where she discovered that the previous meeting had been recorded, the suit says. She became furious, hurling expletives at the group and stating that she was going to go around the room person by person until somebody told Lizzo, who made the recording, according to the lawsuit. The suit says Davis confirmed that she had recorded the meeting, allegedly told Lizzo that she hadn't meant any harm, and had deleted the video. Lizzo allegedly responded, "There is nothing you can say to make me believe you." So it's kind of like mafia shit.
All right. Someone did. Here's what I want to know. When it says became furious, hurling expletives at the group, and stated that she was going to go around the room person by person until someone told Lizzo, who made the recording. God, I hope she refers to herself in the third term.
Yes.
Third person.
Somebody better tell Lizzo.
Because I hope that's how she says it. That would be amazing. If she said someone better tell Lizzo.
Yeah, I mean, she brought all these women on tour probably to abuse them,
I don't think they thought it through. That's what I'm saying. It's about
when you have
health.
a bunch of fatty boom baddies on the tour, she's probably having a little fun, going, girls, she's probably...
Eat some pussy out of banana.
Yeah, eat the pussy banana. And also, bitch, do it, because where else are you going to dance?
Right.
You're not getting hired anywhere else. Like, unfortunately or fortunately, you're not working.
Right.
So you were given this really weird, unique opportunity that only exists with this one woman.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anywhere else. So,
this is like not to body shame anybody, but there's been a weird shift.
Yes.
In just the way society looks at these things.
Yes.
Because it used to be that women that were representing clothes and things had ideal shapes.
Yes.
Like that's what they used for advertisement.
Right.
And then something changed and they decided
Well, society used to really prioritize people who could breathe on their own. and listen, as a person, I've struggled with my weight, but I know that fat is not good. Eating the wrong thing isn't good. We shouldn't turn it into good.
Right.
It's crazy to turn it into good. That's a horrible idea.
There's people that could be encouraged in this exact same state. They could either be encouraged that you're perfect on your own and don't you worry about anything.
Right.
And don't you even worry about what food is. Just eat to your heart's content.
Right. Well, there were things that LA, they put this weird story out where it was like the LA school district was like, let's stop telling kids that fruits and vegetables are good and that junk food is bad. Because the reality is that's racist. I don't know how.
I don't know how either.
But they were like,
that.
they were like, it's racist if you tell a kid there's a difference between an Oreo and an orange. That is racist. Recently, they had a thing where Lizzo lost a few pounds. I don't know how, but she did, she moves around a lot, so she shaved a couple off. Maybe lost a little bit in the face. Don't know how it happened. They started attacking her. The fat activist people started saying, how dare you? You're losing weight. You're the symbol of fat. And she should never have let them put that crown on her.
Yeah.
When they said, she should have said, hey, I'm an artist. I'm a singer. This is what I do. Not I'm the symbol of all fat people. Because now you own them. Now you own the fatties. And
you have to stay fat.
And you got to stay fat. And so Lizzo loses a few pounds, and then people start attacking her going, how dare you lose the weight? And Lizzo literally made a statement. She said, I move around a lot for my job. I mean, look at how insane this world is. Lizzo goes, I move around a lot for my job. I lost a little bit of weight. I'm not trying to be thin. I don't even want to be thin. This was an accident. To keep this rabid fan base of crazy people.
My health was an accident.
My health was an accident. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
I didn't mean to improve.
It won't happen again. So we've gone so far.
Can I just tell you this? Kevin James had a manager that told him once, when you're losing weight, you're losing roles.
Right. Well, if you're an actor and you're used to that certain thing, people got to get used to you another way, whatever. But you got to remember with somebody like Lizzo, right? You couldn't lose a lot of weight. You're still a problem. That's the whole thing. It's she could lose a lot of weight and it's still it's such a luxury concern when people are like, well, how's the world going to relate to me with a six-pack? It's just stand up by yourself first and then get to there. But it's crazy. We've shifted the goalposts from let's not abuse people. Let's not be nasty to people, especially if you don't know them. Or if you know them, if they're your kids or your friends, it's completely appropriate to go, hey, what's going on here? But if you don't know people, shitting on them on the internet or whatever, that's a shitty thing to do. But saying that there's no difference health-wise between the big girls on that show and then thinner dancers is crazy.
It's crazy. And
we can't live in a world that's great. We can't live in a world where we remove all sense of reality.
Right.
Because then it's the only fun of eating a cupcake or a little scoop of ice cream is knowing it's bad.
Right.
That's the point. Not because it's good.
Right.
When you eat a little something you shouldn't eat, you go, I did the wrong thing.
I'm a bad boy.
And you should feel ashamed a little bit. There should be a little shame there.
And it's worth the shame because it tastes so fucking good.
Yeah, it's just worth the shame.
Yeah.
If you've ever been, I walked out of a frozen yogurt shop once and someone recognized me. I don't get recognized all the time, but somebody recognized you. You should be ashamed of that. If someone goes, hey man, I like your stuff, and you're holding frozen yogurt at 2 p.m., you should be ashamed of that. That should be a shameful moment in your life. You should be walking out of an ice cream shop in the mid-afternoon with Sam Talent in Austin, walking out of Amy's Ice Cream with Sam Talent, and then somebody goes, oh, Tim Dillon, and you spin around, you look at it, and it's and the only other people in the thing are children. Because it's a fucking ice cream shop. The only people there are fucking kids. They're 9 years old, right? And then these rich bee cave moms. There should be a moment there where you go, oh, this isn't good. This isn't right. Divorcing yourself from that, that's when I think comedy gets weird. That's when I think everything gets weird. When you stop saying what is real or true to you, and when you start adopting this idea that up is down and down is up, and it's just a matter of how you look at it, that's when everything starts to get crazy.
Yeah, and that's where we are.
That's kind of where we are.
There's a certain percentage of the population that is questioning everything right now. I mean, mathematics.
Yeah.
They're talking about mathematics being racist and subjective or somehow.
Yeah.
What was the argument?
I don't know. It's because it was designed, anything designed by white people, I guess, is inherently, potentially. You just gotta.
So dumb.
Yeah. Well, now it's important to local stuff's important now, right? Like your family. Yeah. You can't really rely on institutions. You can try to improve them, but the local stuff's important. Like your family, your community, the values that people have, right? Yeah. And the schools you send your kids to, the context you provide your kids now. So when when they come home and go, well, the teacher said this, and you go, yeah, but you can't outsource it anymore and trust that your kids are going to get a good education. You have to get involved and go, okay, your teacher might have some points, but also there's also a whole other world here. Like, I don't think we could send kids to school and have them go, like, no, your teacher's right about everything, which I never believed.
Yeah.
I never believed that somebody driving a Toyota Camry was correct.
Well, you also have to think that those adults are with your children more than you are during the day.
That's right.
They're there for hours and hours
Yeah.
with the undivided attention of your kids.
That's right.
And some of them are fucking loons.
Some of them are nuts.
Some of them think that they have a job to do to, like, remove the programming of the parents that they
Right.
don't agree with.
Right.
So they could not agree with the parents and tell the kids that the parents are wrong and they're right. Like,
Right.
Which is a real creepy thing because
Yes.
I don't know who's right and who's wrong. This is a made-up scenario, right? But just that someone would decide that they are right and the parents are wrong and they want to convince this child of something, whether it's they have political leanings,
Yeah.
whether it's their attitude on whatever the fuck
Whatever
it
it
is.
is, yeah.
Whatever it is, that someone would get into your kid's head
Yeah.
and have some very questionable and debatable ideas that they're trying to push as doctrine.
Yeah.
And that does happen. I've had some shitty fucking teachers that will just tell you that they are right about certain things.
Yes. I used to do cocaine with the substitutes at my school, and that was kind of the level of teacher we had. But we had some great teachers, and then we had some teachers that were not great, right?
Yeah.
There, we all know those teachers, right? We all know those teachers who had kind of an agenda. Like they
Yeah.
went in and they were teachers because nobody would listen to them.
Yeah.
So now they had this captive audience, and they were like, well, I'm going to talk. We had a health teacher like that in, high school that had like an agenda, not even like a sexuality agenda or whatever. She would just complain about her own miserable life to us. Like she would just tell us about her husband and everything like that. She was going through a divorce.
Oh my God.
And you're like, oh, this woman just wants people to talk to.
And that's how she taught class?
Yeah, she just would complain about like she had just gone through a divorce and, like her husband.
And what was the subject?
It was health. It's like a fake class anyway, kind of. And this bitch would just get up and like, literally she said to one kid once, she goes, you're like a really effeminate kid. He was like, well, if I get married, she goes, you're gay. And then
Oh
like,
my God.
And then the class was like, what? And then she's like, she goes, and he goes, excuse me. And she goes, no, you're gay. And then just moved on. Like she was wacky. And I think she ended up
my
getting
God.
fired. But she clearly used her classroom as like a thing, like a therapy session.
Yeah.
Where she wasn't like going over, this was just like her. I think that my grandmother was a teacher. She was an amazing teacher. But yeah, I don't think it's appropriate like you can have opinions obviously as a teacher, but like, you got to understand that there's like certain things that, but then there's overreaction too, where I think they banned the book in Florida because it had two penguins that were dudes, but penguins weren't fucking.
What?
They unbanned the
Come
book.
on.
DeSantis gets a little wild.
Well, he's probably got some really wild people that are supporting him. Too.
Yeah, so he gets a little wild.
You get into those religious.
It gets a little cult-like.
Groups. Yeah.
Gets a little cult-like.
Very,
but
very
as somebody who's been out of the closet for years and years and don't hide anything, I don't think 6-year-olds should be taught about any sexuality.
No.
It has nothing to do with their lives.
Right.
They should be taught reading, math, the alphabet. So anybody going like, boys in this line, girls in this line, and this line is for my special people, like, out. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
And that's what most gay people over a certain age feel. It's like, it's silly.
And Tango Makes Three recounts the true story of two male penguins who were devoted to each other at the Central Park Zoo in New York. A zookeeper who saw them building a nest and trying to incubate an egg-shaped rock gave them an egg from a different penguin pair with 2 eggs after they were having difficulty hatching more than 1 egg at a time. The chick cared for by the male penguins was named Tango. So male Tango had 2 gay dads.
Is that... Yeah, I'm trying to...
That's what they're saying.
But they unbanned this, I think. They banned it and then unbanned. I don't know why they unbanned it. It was the ban was lifted because I guess it wasn't explicit.
What is wrong with gay penguins?
I don't know, but I think it's an overreaction because
but
it's
there
like
were books where they were showing like
crazy
explicit
shit.
like oral sex. They were showing like illustrations of oral sex.
That's crazy. That's
crazy.
No, it's insane.
And talking about lust and wanting someone, it's essentially like cartoon pornography.
No, that's crazy, and it's also crazy to introduce the concept of like gender theory to children.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. It's crazy.
It's not fair because also
crazy.
Kids are so fucking malleable, man.
They're malleable, and if they hear like, oh, there's boys and girls, and then there's this.
Yes.
If you're transgender, you'll know. You'll know. If you're gay, you'll know. There isn't like you don't need to be told that you're transgender or gay or lesbian, whatever. You don't need to be told that by anybody.
Another thing that really scares me is there does not seem to be a lot of attention made to detransitioners.
Right.
You know, when you're celebrating this one thing,
there's another side.
I feel like you have a responsibility.
Except Ben Shapiro's doing a new musical, The Detransitioners. That will be very good.
He apparently hated Barbie.
On his platform, where it's going to be a bunch of trans people who've DJ. Well, the funniest thing now is some of the people that are critical of the trans stuff are like trans people that like have detransitioned, so they look wild.
Yeah.
And then they're on Twitter or whatever it's called now fighting with the other people. And you're like, it's like the Lizzo fat thing where you go, wait, who's what? Like, I don't even know what's happening. But yeah, there's a lot of people that went through that stuff and went back. So to me, it's like
one of the guests of this podcast did.
Yeah.
Kristen Beck. She was Kristen. It was a Navy SEAL. His name's Chris Beck, right? And then he became Kristen and then went back to being a guy.
That's why you can't make those decisions when you're young. You gotta see what happens.
Well, you also gotta realize that there is some very strange spectrum of human being.
That's right.
And everybody looks, for some reason, we try to find what is like us out there.
Right.
You know, you just can't just accept whatever.
See, it's so weird because I'm the opposite, where it's like I'm fascinated by people not like me. Like I see these comedy shows in New York City where it's like there'll be like the all brown comedy show or the all gay comedy show, and I'm like, you're living in New York City. This is the most diverse place on earth, and you want to hang out with 7 people that look exactly like you?
Right.
It's the weirdest thing in our culture now that everybody needs to be around people like them.
Well, it's social media echo chambers amplified into the real world. That's what it is. And the thing about wanting everybody to be like you, the problem with that is like, what if you go up last? All those fucking dudes have They have all the material.
They've taken every bit.
They have every premise.
Every observation. Your dad wanted you to be a doctor too?
Yeah,
It's just, I understand community. I understand having shared experiences with people.
Yeah.
But I also think some of the most adventurous parts of life and the most interesting and the most exciting are when you're with, how many cool stories start with like somebody went on a trip and met a bunch of people that had no idea from different cultures.
Yeah.
And they said, I had the most epic trip ever because, and they'll describe every person that ended up on this backpacking thing with them, and not one of them is like another one. And it seems so cool that everybody brings a perspective that you don't have.
Yeah.
You know? And now it's like people are like, oh, I just want to be around people like myself all the time. And to me, I'm like, isn't that boring? Isn't it boring to agree with all of your friends?
It is boring.
It's boring.
Yeah.
Dude, you want people in your life that you detest. You know? Like also you strongly dislike.
That think they're smart and are wrong.
Right. Right. Those are the funnest people. Certainty is hilarious.
Yes.
People that have to reverse themselves all the time are really. I have to reverse myself a lot.
I do too.
I will do a whole thing, and then people go, well, it's not like that. And I go, well, then that's fine too. And I'll just keep going like 100% because that's what keeps life fun.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, and it's always interesting to try to figure out why someone strongly believes what they believe if you don't believe it. It's always interesting.
Right.
Especially if they're smart. It's always interesting to like, okay, how did you come to that? Like when really brilliant people are very religious, I'm always interested.
Yeah.
I'm always like, that's interesting.
What's very interesting is like for me, my grandmother and grandfather were deeply religious. My grandmother was a liberal. My grandfather was a conservative. So politically, they were completely different. But they each went to mass every day, and they believed deeply in the Catholic faith, right? and they had great lives. And it was a very important thing for both of them. But politically, they came at it from completely different ways. So he would vote for Reagan, and she'd vote for whoever, right? Mondale.
Wow, a divided household.
Well, no, they were different. My grandfather was my father's father. My grandmother was my mother's mother. But they got along. They loved me. They were great people. They were very religious. But my grandmother said, I, for example, don't believe women that want abortion should have to go to a back alley. And my grandfather said, I believe that life starts at conception. We should not have legal abortion. There was a big disagreement. But like and to some people that would have disqualified my grandmother. They would have been like, well, she's not a real Christian. But she was out teaching catechism, helping people, volunteering, doing all the stuff that Jesus probably would have done, you know? So it was like they were completely different. But yeah, it is interesting when you have deeply religious. I think it's a lot of like, you know, without religion, it is difficult. Without some idea of why we're here and what we're doing, it's a tough go of it.
Yeah,
for a lot of people.
It's a tough go of it as a pure intellectual.
Right.
You know, some of the smartest people I know are really freaked out about life.
Everything that's just chance and theories and going like, one guy gets in a car, another guy gets in a car, that guy makes it home, that guy doesn't.
Yeah.
Living with the reality of that every day is really tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is.
So I think what, you know, these systems that, you know, are very comforting. And it would be great if there was some version of it that was true. Like if there was some omniscient being rewarding the good and punishing the bad.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I think there's a lot of that.
But maybe there's a third way, which you talk about a lot. And that's from like the DMT and stuff like that. Maybe maybe we all just go to some peaceful energy field. Isn't that kind of the game?
Who knows what we are? Like,
right.
We think of our consciousness as our consciousness coming out of our mouth through our words.
Right.
And what we do and where we go and what we see.
Right.
You know, but like, what is it? Like, what is that energy if it's unstrapped from the human body, when it doesn't need to communicate with sound, when it doesn't have a body? Like,
right.
is there something in there that goes somewhere else? Because if that's like this idea of the soul, like that's one of the ways that people describe like DMT experiences, that you're entering into like a well of souls.
Right.
You know, that there's some process where that thing goes back into a body, and then a new body has that thing in it.
Interesting. So it's
this
kind
is
of
the
reincarnation.
Yeah, the reincarnation idea.
But I don't want that.
There's another one. Okay. One other thought.
I don't like that one, so let's get to one I like.
The other one is that you live the same life over and over and over again until you get it right.
That I don't love either. That I don't love either. That I have to take mega buses again and, you know, perform in bars in Western Massachusetts.
I know, but would that be so horrible? It's if you already did it.
What about past life regressive therapy? You think there's anything to that, or do you think that's just a racket?
Passive regressive?
No, past life regression.
Oh, past life regression.
Where like somebody will go, you were Napoleon.
Well, there's some real issues with that.
Yeah.
People are very suggestible. It depends entirely on who's providing the therapy. There was a guy that did that. His name was John Mack, and he did that with UFO people. All these people that claim to have been abducted. And he freaked out Maura Tierney, and she gave me a book like at work when we were doing news radio together. She's like, you got to read this. This is crazy. And it's all about these people that got abducted. They all have the same fucking story. And this guy did it all through hypnotic regression. But there were some people that felt like he had made suggestive questions to them, and that perhaps led them in a certain way to maybe even fabricate this kind of a memory. I don't know, though. I'm super suspicious. I mean, I think that it's totally possible that someone could put you into hypnosis, and in that hypnosis you can recall something that was traumatic. I also think it's totally possible for you to have false memories implanted in your head.
Right.
Because they know that you can do that. They know they can do that with people. They can give people false memories. And so these people, they'll tell them about things that happen, and all these people will repeat this thing that happened. They remember it, but it never happened. And then they have to tell them that never happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My friend's mother was into, like, Shirley MacLaine apparently is really into this stuff.
Oh, super into it.
She's super into it. So my friend's mother was, like, really into it too. And my friend's mother was just a rich Long Island wine drunk.
Nice.
And she just, you know what I mean? She didn't work or anything. She was just a fun, crazy bitch that we drink martinis with and smoke cigarettes, and it was so much fun. And then, like, after a few martinis, she started talking about her past life and Shirley MacLaine and how she used to, she was a man in her past life, and she was like a general in a war.
Of course.
Right, of course. Of course. Because she went
Always a
shopping
winner.
all day. She went to the grocery store.
In the past, she was a winner.
Yeah, you're right.
I did my winning.
Yes.
In another life.
Yeah. She was like, I was Napoleon,
Imagine bragging about a past life.
Well, that's what she would do. She would get happy. So it always turned me off to it because I was like, oh, this bitch seemed like... And then Shirley MacLaine would have some workshop where all these crazy bitches would go in that, of course, had nothing to do during the day.
Yeah.
And they would sit there, and then Shirley MacLaine would be like, and you were you were the Queen of England. And you were Napoleon. And you were a soldier who tried to kill Hitler. You kept trying to kill him, but you didn't get... And it was these weird shit that, like, Shirley MacLaine would tell all these people that, like, they were like... I don't know, like...
It's just huckster stuff.
Important. It feels... A lot of it feels like that.
Yeah, it's tent church hustlers.
They sell crystals by Malibu. Mm-hmm. Like you drive down to PCH, there's like a crystal truck on the side of the road.
Yeah.
What is that?
What is that?
But that's the thing. In LA, there's a lot of like those yoga people.
Yeah.
That just are, but it's also very selfish, a lot of it.
The yoga stuff?
They always talk about themselves. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but everything's about them.
My favorite is learning to love yourself. Are you okay? Yeah. You don't?
But like you talk about these people and they're like, well, the energy and this, that, and the other thing. But it always comes down to them. They're never like the energy was really good in the soup kitchen where I was giving the guy the food. It's always like, I felt that I had to move to Marina Del Rey because I consulted and I took ayahuasca. I went and my shaman led me on this journey, and the journey resulted in that I should live in Marina Del Rey. It's always like, a very kind of like, it's about me. It's like all those guys that go to Burning Man to take all those mushrooms, and it's, it's like, okay. But it's like, they're not like, it's not like this, like the ethos isn't like these are the same guys that are like designing like the types of systems that are like taking all your information and selling it to someone.
Right.
So it's like they're taking a bunch of mushrooms and then realizing that like, oh, I can make a better Palantir. Or, it's like,
I could sell more data.
Yeah, I could sell more data. It's like all those festivals have now been invaded by like these tech guys who just go there and they're like, dude, the world, like, they're like, I just got to really like get into myself. And then they're like designing like stuff that like the CIA is using. So it's kind of wild to me the way that we appropriate anything. We just take any spiritual experience we want and make it serve us.
Yeah. That's a fact. That seems to be a human characteristic.
Yeah. Like there's ayahuasca retreats are huge.
They are, but they're
good.
There's real good in them, but there's
good.
also like a certain type of person who gravitates towards those things to sort of spiritualize their existence, and just by virtue of connecting yourself to the experience and having a few of those experiences, you have like a credit score, like a spiritual credit score.
Interesting.
It's a very high spiritual credit score.
Well, that's interesting.
And then you can be this guy who wears wooden beads.
Nobody says they're into the dark arts. What I would like is somebody who goes, I got into all that stuff, but I'm a witch. I'm like a warlock. Like I'm into the dark side of it. Like I'm into like, I'm the other side. I'm Voldemort.
Those
no one
are the
does
guys
that.
who do the late night shift at Walmart.
Right. Those are the guys at Chipotle chopping chicken.
Black fingernails.
Yeah. It's weird to me. I always try to get into it, but it just sounds like junk. That's the problem, right? When you hear people talk about this, it sounds like junk. Because usually it's the most selfish person in the world and we'll tell you about an ayahuasca retreat. It's never like a good person.
Amazing things get co-opted all the time by people's personalities.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure.
Like people will be like, my shaman told me I shouldn't worry about being on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And you're like, is that what you're using the shaman for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing that connects you to some form of spirituality that's non-denominational. So it's like just like being a Christian. It has the exact same feeling as being in any other religious group, and it's not just to disparage any religious group. I think there's a slot in your brain where the rules fit in. And I think that slot could be Islam, that slot could be Mormonism, but there's a slot in your brain and we took that slot out.
Yeah.
We took that piece out. We're like, hey, I've been reading this, and I never heard of anybody coming back to life after fucking 3 days. Maybe this is horseshit.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't make the fucking whole Earth in 6 days.
Right.
Maybe this thing's really old.
That's why I always like Jerry Seinfeld, because he goes, I like things. Like he does this speech he did at the Clio, these advertising awards. He got one of them, and he does this whole thing. It's so brilliant. And he goes, I like advertising because I like lying. And he talks about, he goes, if things don't make you happy, you don't have the right things. And you hear it, it's so funny, right? And people would be like, it's so disgusting. And of course, it's at the end of the day, people make you happy, love makes you happy, communities, family, all that makes you happy. But when he talks about things making you happy, it's so funny and so him, and the way he sells it. The way Jerry Seinfeld sells, like, he goes, there's nothing better than a pair of Levi's, or or he goes, a Volkswagen Beetle or a Bic pen. He's like, if things don't make you happy, you don't have the right things. It's so funny, and I feel like he does think a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Because that is a group of person, too, where they're almost spiritually connected to inanimate objects.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and he said this is all going to be in my new book, Soulful Materialism. But it's just funny to me because it's like, there are people you meet that when you talk to them, you go, oh yeah, like, this does mean a lot to you.
That's a very funny premise, though. That's a very
so
good
funny.
Jerry Seinfeld premise.
It's the best thing I've I think his, I'm not familiar with all of his comedy. His show's brilliant. Obviously, his comedy's brilliant. But that award speech I saw was like this very unique, different thing that he goes, yeah, these awards, he goes, here's what they really are. He goes, I know this award means nothing. He goes, and I know that because the last time we did this, the last time they had this award show, they left a bunch of them up on stage, and you all just came up here and grabbed them. He goes, you didn't earn them, but he goes, you just brought them home because they prop up your meaningless lives. It's the best thing I've seen from him. It was my just favorite thing because it does seem like he's totally raw. And I feel like that is him.
Yeah.
Like he is being real in that moment where he's basically like, no, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the shiny thing. He goes, it doesn't matter that it doesn't work when I get it home. I want it now. He goes, I want the thing on the commercial. I want it. And there is something so deeply American about that. It is disturbing on some level. But there's also a level where you got to just recognize how powerful that stuff is, too.
Yeah.
Like, we are one of the only generations of people that have experienced this level of prosperity.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy.
And instant access to goods.
To
You
everything.
have an app on your phone, Amazon.
Anything
And you
you
can just
can
buy
get.
whatever you want. You can buy crazy shit on Amazon. Very expensive things on Amazon. You just have it sent to your house.
It's like my boomer parents were like the first heavily propagandized generation with regard to advertising.
Yeah.
That's why we all grew up eating shit because, like, they believed corporations.
Yeah.
Corporations were like, McDonald's is it. Your kids are going to love it. And you're like, all right, go to McDonald's. Now, my cousin's 2 kids have never had McDonald's. They're 6 and 4. She goes, I can't control them forever, but for right now, they'll never have McDonald's. We grew up eating there.
Yeah.
Because corporations were paramount. My father loves commercials as much as TV shows. He used to call me like the Budweiser frogs were his favorite thing in the world. Remember those 3 frogs?
I do remember those
on
frogs.
On the lily pads?
I
They would
do
go,
remember them.
Budweiser. And my father loved them. To him, that was art. Like, that was, the boomers were like one of the first generations where the advertising was art. Like, after 9/11, Budweiser did this commercial where all the Clydesdales took a knee and they said, from one America. And they were doing it, and you're like, where was it? And they're doing it in Jersey, and you're looking at where the towers used to be. And it took you a minute to get it. And then they all take a knee, and Budweiser said, from one American icon to another. And my father's like crying in the living room, going, "This is the greatest thing I've seen." The bodies were still like smoldering, and my father, yeah, here it is. It's crazy.
How did they go from that to what they did? How did they go from that to this Dillon Mulvaney disaster?
Well, I think what they thought was going to happen, right? Because I think what happens is all you need is one nut. This is all you need in any company. Nobody's ever worked in a company. Like the people that are curious about how this happened, a lot of them have never worked in a company where just one person has an inordinate amount of power and one motherfucker can go in there and go, "No, this is the way it's going to be." And usually that person doesn't get called out because usually the company's not Budweiser and usually it's not going to be, but we all see like one person in any organization can totally throw it on its head. And I think they had a marketing director who said, "We're going to have a little fun. We're going to be a little edgy. This is going to be cool. And we're going to get Dillon Mulvaney." And I don't think what they had imagined was that was kind of this straw that broke the camel's back, because I think people had felt like this new world was being shoved down their throat. And then they were looking at Budweiser and they were going, "We have to push back against this because we feel like all of this is happening a little too quickly. It's a little crazy and we don't understand it." And they fought back. But I think it was probably just one or two people.
That is wild.
That probably came in there and, you're not paying attention. You go, yeah, here's a budget. Go work with influencers,
But it was also the speech that she gave about wanting to do something to sort of upgrade the brand's image, that it was a very fratty.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
what's one bitch? Oh, one bitch has to go in there and go, she goes out to a bar one night. She's a bunch of guys in fucking, those pink salmon shorts and fucking loafers drinking Bud Light. And she goes, "I don't like this. I got to change this."
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's one person.
It's the whole group of people that buy it.
Yeah.
Like, imagine.
It's a shitty beer. It's not the best beer. I'm not a beer drinker. I don't drink alcohol now.
It's not the best beer.
It's not the best beer, right?
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay when it's cold.
It's not like a connoisseur's beer.
No.
No, this is a cooler beer.
Yeah.
This is a frat bro beer.
Yeah.
And they were like, "We're going to now do the Dillon Mulvaney thing." Yeah. I mean, people getting upset about it, I understand to a degree. I understand where it comes from. But I've never looked at corporations and went, "They're good." You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I never thought that they were beacons of truth.
Right.
So I never thought that, like, "I can't believe it's not butter," had to have my political view. Like,
Right.
Because I'm like, "Oh, they're selling poison crap." And fat people are going, "No, it's not butter." Yeah.
You know how wild it is that they convinced people that margarine was better for you than butter?
Well, they came in and they said frozen yogurt's better than ice cream. And it's just chemicals. Same thing. Just chemicals, right? Margarine's better than butter. This vegan stuff, these Impossible burgers are better than burgers. And they're like fake and they're loaded with sodium and they have fake blood and stuff. But that's what I always viewed corporations like that. I always came from that generation where we looked at corporations where we're like, "Oh, you're full of shit." My parents looked at corporations crying at the commercials, going, "They care about us." Budweiser cares. McDonald's cares. They care about us.
Right.
Like when I was a child actor, I said to my parents, they brought me into some audition. I didn't get it. And I came out and I went, "I didn't get it, but can we still go to McDonald's?" My dad used that as like, look what a good head he has on his shoulders. He can handle rejection and he just wants to go to McDonald's. And it's like, no, that's a toxic factory of horrible food that no kid should be eating. But we grew up having birthday parties there. Every kid in my class had a birthday party at Burger King or whatever. It's just what it was. Because our parents fundamentally trusted corporate America and the government enough to go, well, if it was bad, the government would be regulating it.
Yeah, nobody thought of fast food as bad when we were kids.
Nobody.
It was just food that wasn't the best food.
Right. And nobody was like, "This stuff's bad."
Like, I think when Super Size Me came out, that was like the first time where people actually really thought, like, okay, how bad is this?
Yeah, but then that guy was so annoying. That guy that people were like, well, fuck him. Like, he made a true point. But people were like, but the corporations are smart. They go, okay, but how about fast casual? How about fast casual? Not fast food. And you go, well, it's not fast food. I have to stand on a line. They give me a thing. But it's the same thing. Like, they just morph what they do. So to me, I've never been like, these corporations will do what they can get away with. And I think with the Mulvaney thing, they just went a step too far.
I think they just did it for that one person. I don't think this is like a run of cans, right?
No, they just sent her a can and they were like, but again, it's like, if you want to be the most famous person in the world, which like Andrew Tate wanted to be, right? And then you get there and there's all these unintended consequences, right? Then Dillon Mulvaney clearly wanted to be massively famous, right? The whole thing is like, I want to be massively famous. I want to work with all these brands and I want to.
Dillon had already interviewed Biden before that.
Yeah, they want to be. She wanted
but
to
how
be.
How does that happen?
They say.
How wild is that?
They say we had an effeminate gay man who didn't make it doing that. Now she's a chick, and she wants to interview Biden, and the Biden goes, "Huh?" And they go, "Good, it's coming," and then they just do an interview. Biden doesn't know where he is or what's happening. No, he's just hanging on. It's the least fun way to be president. To be the most powerful person in the world and not know has got to suck a little.
It's perfect.
The best thing ever was when they go, the Biden family over in Nantucket in the holidays, they went to their Nantucket home and discussed whether Joe should run again, and they all said he should. And I'm like,
is that recent?
Yeah, they had a meeting over the holidays where they're like, we're assessing.
July 4th holidays?
No, this was during the holidays. And they were like, the Biden family had this meeting, Jamie could look it up, where they were
during
like,
December.
Yeah, where they were like, we're going to see if he's going to run again. And Jill and Hunter and the rest of the crew met, and they decided it's a great idea for him to run again. And I'm like, it's crazy sending a guy that old into battle again. And I don't, so.
There was some article, Jamie, about the accusations of how much money they received. Like some new one came out today. They were trying to figure out how much money the Biden family received during this whole Hunter Biden scandal thing.
Right. Well, it's a big scandal. People are going like, well, his son's an addict and he stood by his son. Number one, don't stand by it. Like if a laptop came out where I had done what Hunter Biden was doing, my family would tell people I was dead. Like, this idea. And they're not even the president. My dad sells wine and he wouldn't admit, like, there is a time you cannot support your kids, by the way. What are we talking about? People are like, well, he's a good father. It's like, is he? Was he?
Do you think it was his coke at the White House?
Whose coke is it outside? It's definitely his coke. But I don't like narcs and rats, so I think he should be he can have a blast.
Yeah, what's the big deal? You're at your fucking dad's house.
If your father's the president, you can't have a blast? You can't do a little bump?
Comer releases the third bank memo detailing payments to the Bidens from Russia, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. What's the number? 20 million. They now have the committee has now identified over 20 million in payments from foreign sources to the Biden family and their business associates.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, you don't stay in. There's no way that they looked at him and went, he should be the president unless they knew for a fact that he's controlled and being managed.
Yeah, this is all
There's no way he's.
So wild.
They want a guy he's been a company man forever. He's, he started his career letting, people in Delaware, like these credit card companies do whatever the fuck they wanted. And he had that, the architect of the crime bill where they sent a lot of nonviolent drug offenders. But he's a company man. Like, he's a guy.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's been a guy. It's why Obama had him as vice president. He was never like an articulate guy. He was never that great at it. He was just the guy that he's a solid Washington insider forever. And that's what he is. And now he's old, but that's what he is. A guy that's just been in the system for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's what he is.
Him running again in one more year from now.
There's no way.
How?
Newsom is coming up and trying to run. There are other people that are circling. I don't think he runs again. I can't see it. I don't see it.
How do you think they get Kamala Harris to step down? Because she's rightfully, if he steps down, until
Kamala Harris cannot say a sentence. She's almost worse than him. She talks in like gypsy curses. When they ask her something, she'll be like, "My grandma said that a hive of bees is still bees if you bury it," and you're like, "What the fuck is this bitch saying?"
Gypsy curses.
That's how she speaks. The woman has no idea what's going on. But again, Washington inside, they're just like, you were a DA, you were a cop, you'll keep your mouth shut. Don't you want to be the first, whatever race you're pretending to be president today, Indian, black, whatever works? And she goes, yeah. But they got to get rid of her. What they should have done, if they wanted to win, George Soros should have backed up the money truck to Michelle Obama and said, listen, you are going to run because people like you. They like you. It doesn't matter, about any of the conspiracies. Maybe you are Big Mike. Who cares?
What?
But you are going to run this goddamn country.
I can't believe you went there.
You're going to run this goddamn country.
That is the wackiest conspiracy.
It's a wacky conspiracy. Can I make one point for the people that are on the side of it?
Yes.
It is weird, but I don't think she's Big Mike.
Okay.
It is weird that there's not one photo of her pregnant, but maybe there is. Is that not weird? Maybe it's not weird. I don't know.
She's a public person. Why would you want photos of her pregnant out there?
I understand that, but maybe it is weird. Maybe it's not weird.
Well, also, when she had her kids, were they private or public? Like, when was that? When he was a senator?
I don't know. I just know that
he was a senator, right?
Yes.
Before he became president.
For sure.
So what, law school, Senate?
I have no issue because I want to live. I have no issue with Big Mike. I don't care that they killed that sex slave in Martha's Vineyard. That's what happens to sex slaves. They drown in ponds. That's what happens. You fuck the ruling class, you drown a pond. That's what happens. If you get your little mouthy, you go into the pond. I don't have a problem with it. I have no problem. I think it's good. I actually think it's good. I think it makes our country fun. I think it makes us unique. I think Putin and them are scared of that shit.
They do it all the time.
I think Putin and the Chinese are like, you don't know what's going on there. Because they got people that maybe they're men, maybe they're women, we don't know. I think if it's not real, make it real. Put it out. Would it be anything better than her at the DNC, whip her cock out and going, and I'm Big Mike? The Chinese would lose their mind. The Chinese would give up. They would give up. If Michelle Obama took her cock out at the Democratic National Convention, the Chinese would go, we're throwing in the towel. We can't compete with them. That's I'm just saying.
Oh, my God.
Maybe I won't run for governor of California.
I don't think you can anymore.
Maybe it's a bad idea.
Yeah, not that state.
It's not a great idea.
But I bet you get in like Wyoming.
Yeah, I could definitely
just fucking Jackson Hole, get yourself a nice spread.
Yeah. I could
decide
definitely
to become the governor of Wyoming.
There's definitely a small town that would elect me mayor.
100%.
100%.
100%. Well,
yeah.
Clint Eastwood was mayor of Carmel, remember?
Yes.
The fucking
so crazy.
Giant movie star became a mayor of a small town in Northern California. Like, what?
That is very fun. And it's just because all those rich people live there and they thought it was cool saying our mayor is Clint Eastwood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a crazy enclave of rich people.
I'm getting so old now where I'm 38. I don't want to know anymore. Like, I'm like at this point where it's like the younger people coming up are going to have to figure it out. Like, I've got however many years I have left. And it's like, do I want to know all the secrets at this point in the government? It's like, it would be cool to know a few of them, but it's like, I don't know how many I want to know.
Right.
You do get to a certain age where you go, you know what? Just, maybe you guys figured that out.
If you know too many of them, then there's too many battles to fight.
Too many.
Like, you can't pay attention to everything on the financial front. The environment front, the fucking push for electric cars, and there's too much to pay attention to.
It's too much.
Too many. And that's the thing about being a person today. We're all overloaded with information.
And the natural world is like, like enjoy it while you got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, enjoy it. There's sharks eating people left and right. Shark ate a woman's leg in Rockaway Beach, Queens.
Yeah.
The other day, 2 days ago, woman lost 20 pounds of flesh thresher or a bull. They said maybe a juvenile white. They thought if it was an adult white, it would have killed her. But,
oh my God.
You know, life is, you don't know.
But that's the weird fucking thing about the goddamn ocean.
I know.
Goddamn ocean. It's monster soup.
But it is beautiful and amazing to be in. You do feel weirdly connected.
But
you feel weirdly connected to like that's a spiritual experience. A float in the ocean, there is something about that where you're like, this is wild.
There is something about it. It's alive.
But she's fine.
65-year-old woman was standing in the water near Beach 59th Street and Rockaway Beach just before 6 p.m. when she felt a sharp pain in her left leg, causing her to fall backward into the water. NYPD officers applied a life-saving tourniquet, and she was taken to Jamaica Hospital in critical condition. On Tuesday afternoon, she was upgraded and said to be stable. However, her wound was so deep that she nearly bled to death.
She was identified as a Ukrainian immigrant living in Astoria. This is a psyop. It's a psyop. This is a psyop. She's like, they literally interview her. They're like, tell us about the shark attack. She's like, it is important we keep giving money to Azov Battalion. They're like, but how did the shark bite you? $1 trillion is not enough. We have more. They need weapons. They need tanks. They need to bring the war to Moscow. Yeah, it's a psyop. Putin must go. You're like, what? Who is this bitch?
They kill two birds with one stone. They open up shark fishing.
Yeah.
Shark fishing industry profits.
Well, I had Eli Roth, who's a really good director. He directs horror movies, and he's an actor. He's good. He was in Inglourious Basterds. He's on my podcast this week, and we debate sharks because he's like pro like shark and like don't fish them and like don't do anything to them. And like I'm like, no, we got to start like fucking them up a little. Because they are, you know, they're getting loud. They're out there, and we got to start hitting them back a little bit. That's, you know, seems, you know.
There's quite a few videos now that you could watch of people getting killed by sharks.
Oh, yeah.
There's quite a few. That recent one that was in Egypt is fucking horrifying.
It's terrifying.
Horrifying.
But it's like people say, oh, you're sharing the ocean with sharks. They're not, that's not sharing what they're doing.
No, they're eating you.
They are being very aggressive.
It's just, that's where they live. Like, don't go where they live. If the forest was filled with werewolves, don't go in the forest.
Yeah, but you know what? Why are we giving them the whole, like, we are the kings. We dominate the earth. We don't have, like, this whole thing, we have to respect nature. No, we can fuck nature up. And
so you think
have.
We should fuck up those sharks?
I think the Four Seasons should build a resort in the rainforest and slash and burn it. And I've always said that because I want to go to the rainforest, but I don't want to go in a hut, and I don't want to go on one of these river boats. I want to go on a nice fucking luxury fucking Four Seasons in the goddamn rainforest. Enough with this crap. Stop respecting these fucking third world things. Get rid of it. Enough. These ancient cultures, they need to step it up.
10-foot shark beaten to death after tourists who screamed for Papa killed in Egypt.
Thank God it wasn't white people, because white people would have been pussies and not done anything.
Yeah.
The Egyptians clubbed it, treated it like a woman.
Well, how do they know it's the same shark?
You know, let's not get lost in the weeds here.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. That was a good point. That is a good point.
Especially once there's the blood in the water after it killed that guy.
War is war.
Yeah.
And I do think that the Egyptians were saying, a beast came at us, we're going to go with a beast. It's not right per se.
We tried to find out if this was true, but someone had said that there were people that made a practice of dumping sheep carcasses into the water near there. Is that true, or is that horse shit?
Well, then club that person,
because
too.
that sounds really spooky.
That's really spooky.
If someone did something that dumb and they'd like regularly dropped off the carcasses there so that they didn't have to deal with them.
That's not good.
And then you're literally attracting sharks to that area. Like, holy fuck, man. And then he has to watch that video.
Well, you just got to be careful. You know, I swim, but I don't go out too far. Yeah. I stay pretty close to the water. And I always swim near either an elderly person or a child, someone that I could throw at the shark. If the shark were to come at me, I would just try to push. I always have it in my head who it'll be. There was a bitch next to me in Malibu. I'm like, it's going to be her. If it comes, I'll just throw him right in the mouth and then run away.
Do you think you'd have that much time?
I hope.
I have a feeling they're on you so quick.
They are, but a lot of them, the bites are an exploratory bite. Like, they're not.
What the fuck?
They're just
Does
trying
that give
to
you
see
comfort.
No, they're just trying to see what's going on.
Did you see the video of the kayak getting hit by the tiger shark in Hawaii.
That's why you gotta have a gun and shoot it in the head. Shoot it in the head. We need to see videos to just get our morale back of people in a fucking kayak going, oh, that's fun. Shoot it right in the head.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this environmentalist crap, and I'm sick of these pro-animal people.
So the sheep stuff, that 2010 shark attacks were...
And that was in Egypt as well?
Yeah, I don't know if this is
Didn't you used to run with something in case you saw a mountain lion?
Yeah, I ran with a knife.
Yeah.
Where are the dead sheep? Why are dead sheep washing up on Egypt shores?
And that's from 2017.
Okay, and what does it say? Does it say that people are throwing them in the water? What does it say?
Yeah, the last one
dead
said-
sheep are washed up in the Ras Gharib in the Red Sea, Gavarate, and Egypt, raising fears of attracting frenzied sharks that pose a potential threat to tourism. The marine. Okay, so what does it say? Where do they find the sheep?
I said they're washed up on the ocean.
Yeah, how many of them?
The article I looked at from 2010 said, a witness said, for sure I've seen it being dumped off of boats. The one that just happened, though, I didn't see a direct. They had taken the shark to study it to find out why it had done it.
It also said that the ship which dumped the sheep in the sea will be identified to punish its crew, adding that importing and exporting companies will also be punished. So that's what happened. People were dumping those fucking things in the water. It probably
That's what
helped.
it is. And then the sharks get excited. And I understand you have to live with them, but it's also like, we just gotta, I don't know, the defending of them all the time. People are like, well,
it's a weird narrative, right? It's
Yeah.
like all of a sudden sharks aren't Jaws anymore.
No,
when
they're
we were
like-
a kid, Jaws
Yeah.
was, if your grandfather went shark fishing, it was
Right.
like, fuck yeah, grandpa, go get one.
Right, but now Eli was saying like it's 12 people a year are bitten, it's not a lot, and that we have bigger problems. And we do, but I also think that I don't know. There's a weird thing that people do where they make there's all these shark videos where these women or biologists or whatever, they're tapping these tiger sharks, or redirecting these tiger sharks, like Ocean Ramsey, all these people, and they go we're educating you about sharks. One day one of these sharks is going to get them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If you saw a dude in the forest living with a bear, like that documentary, and then the bear ate him, you'd go, makes sense.
That's how it happens.
These are wild animals, and I think people just don't understand. Yeah, what are we doing here?
Bro, fuck off.
This is not respect. That's not respectful.
Fuck off. How does this guy have this relationship with a shark?
That's his friend.
How is this possible?
That's his friend.
This is insanity. He's literally petting a demon.
But this
it's
is
just. But look at that thing again. If that thing didn't exist and it was in a Dune movie, that there was nothing like this that was real.
Right.
But this is something in a movie. You'd be horrified. Look at the mouth on that thing. It's literally a giant killing machine with huge razor sharp teeth. It's dumb as shit.
There's this thing where people fetishize these monsters and they try to give them souls. And they don't care about human beings, by the way. And they never do this to people that they disagree with. But they'll say that the monster at the bottom of the ocean with the teeth, who just swims around looking for things to eat all day, that's actually a cuddle That's a cuddly, beautiful thing. But the person who disagrees with me on taxes is a monster who should be jailed. But the shark is good.
Save the monsters.
Yeah, so to me, it's it is a little weird thing where it's we have something in us that we will bring on our own. But his point was sharks eat algae and it keeps the ocean, going or something.
Well, no one's saying you should eradicate sharks.
No one's saying we should eradicate them, but I think they should feel the wrath a little bit.
They should probably move out of all the areas where the cities are.
Yeah, we don't need them.
fuck
We don't
you
need them
up.
in Malibu or the Hamptons or places where people spend a good amount of money to live and swim. That's not cool.
Apparently, there was where was it that was it the Bay Area? They found a disturbing number of great whites.
Yeah, but no one swims up there. And you know what?
They do though. They swim all
the
way
Bay
to
Area?
Yeah, the Alcatraz swim.
Oh,
those
that's
wild
interesting.
fuckers.
Yeah.
I think Nick and Nate Diaz have both done it 5 times.
Wow, that's interesting.
Maybe more than 5.
The Alcatraz
Nick might have
swim.
done it 7 times. Yeah, it's miles, right?
Interesting.
Isn't it a couple of miles? in the ocean, freezing water filled with sharks.
Filled
with sharks.
Well, you knew
dude.
a guy you said who used to do like a serious swim. Or I think somebody had been on your show.
Yes, Peter Attia.
And he did like serious. Like he would swim like distances in the ocean.
Peter Attia swam the distances between all of the islands in Hawaii.
And you said he like saw some stuff.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Right.
Well, when he was preparing for it, it was right around the same time where there was a group of people that I think they were preparing for triathlons or something, and someone got eaten by a great white in that same water.
Crazy. That's
so,
crazy.
Like, there was a group of, like, a string of people.
I went to
like
Australia
10 people training
and
together.
we swam at like Bondi Beach. It was a really cool beach, crazy riptides. But a week or earlier, a guy was swimming far out, got eaten. It's a tough way to go.
Bro, you're just like taking the craziest chance.
Have you ever thought about like, would you want to be mauled by an animal at the end?
I don't think so.
Because you love animals, or you always talk about how powerful these animals are.
I don't want to go on the fucking pissing my pants in fear.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Getting eaten alive.
It's a good point.
Doesn't seem like fun.
It's probably not.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
It's got to be interesting, that moment. You know, that kid jumped off a cruise ship and was eaten by sharks. He was like, high school graduation, showing off for his friends, being silly at night in the Bahamas. Kid was from like Alabama. Poor kid just had one stupid, sometimes in life you just make one stupid decision.
Oh, no.
So this is it.
I don't want to see this.
No, you don't see it. You just see, like, he just jumps off. He jumps off a cruise ship and then he just disappears, and it's shark-infested waters.
Oh, my God.
And, he was just a young guy just trying to show off.
Oh, my God.
And he just jumps off, and
what a horrible way to go.
And you can see what they hyperanalyze it. You can see the shark kind of next to him, like a big, massive thing. It's just like,
it's such a freaky animal because the only bones it has are that fucking thing in its mouth.
It's older than, they were saying it's like older than trees.
Older than trees.
It's like one of the oldest things in the world.
Yeah.
It's an ancient evil.
How amazing is that? It's older than trees by like 50 million years.
It's really crazy. It is amazing. And it'll probably be here after we're gone.
The ocean needs a cleanup crew.
So when we're done, all these things will thrive.
Well, who knows what damage we do if we're done.
That's a good point.
Like me and Post Malone were talking as if there's a better pair to be talking about what could go wrong in the thermonuclear war and what damage it can do to the environment.
Right.
It's me and Post Malone because we were talking about Mars, and then there's some sort of strange evidence of a certain element that exists after nuclear bombs that's pretty common on Mars. And so there was this article about Mars having some kind of a natural nuclear reactor. It's like, but the idea was like, imagine if there was a time where we did go have an all-out nuclear war with Russia and China.
Right.
And everybody nuked everybody. The whole Earth would be just obliterated.
Uninhabitable.
Obliterated. Yeah. And maybe we would blow out the atmosphere too. Who
knows?
That
would last for years and years and years, but eventually I guess it would wear off. And
maybe some super intelligent planet comes and visits, like we're planning on doing to Mars. Like what we're planning on doing to Mars. Like this is Elon Musk's whole SpaceX plan, right? This Mars mission plan.
Yeah.
They want to go to Mars, set up colonies on Mars, and then eventually terraform it, right? So figure out some way to generate oxygen, start up an environment there, like really
biodome, Pauly Shore, like that.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
Something.
Who knows? But the idea is that you could set up a living colony on Mars.
We'll probably need to eventually. We got to go somewhere.
But imagine if that's what happened here.
That's probably what happened here. What do you think about all these UFO disclosures? Are these things registering to you as legit?
I go back and forth every day. The more I think about it, the more I talk to people about it, the more there's just something about it that makes me say, at the very least, it's not all true.
There's got to be something that, because it doesn't pass the smell test. There's something weird about it to me.
Well, my thought is that in almost everything that they tell you, everything involving, international conflicts, everything involving the environment, everything. There's always some bullshit in it. It's always it's like you have to figure out where's the bullshit.
Yeah.
There's always something. Like, oh, well, why are you wanting people to take this specific medication? Oh, you get all these campaign contributions from those people. Oh, and then you own stock in that company.
Right.
Oh, and then you, okay. There's like, so it's so hard to know.
Is exactly what it is.
So hard to know.
It's very difficult.
So hard to know, like, what's the motivation behind certain decisions that get made.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to know. And then why are certain things come to light at certain times?
Yeah.
Why are certain things public that weren't public? And
right, are they trying to move people out? Is this like some game of crafty publicity chess?
And so to me, the way I've always felt about it is like, usually there is a ulterior motive for most things you hear.
Yeah.
Most things, not all of them, but a lot of things you hear, the reason for it is a few subterranean layers down. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that could be. I don't know why all this stuff is coming out.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like, and you're saying the same thing. You're never getting 100% the truth.
Never.
The government is never like, hey, this one time I'm gonna fucking lay it all out. Right. This is what's wrong, and you can't fix it.
We're taking an hour. We're gonna let you know everything, and then we're gonna move on.
These people are making billions of dollars with these decisions, and they're not gonna change it for their morals ever.
Yeah,
and you're not gonna arrest
them. It's just what it is. But every now and then they build a football stadium you like. Yeah, so that's what it is.
They put their name on the arena, and we all back off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some weird version of a republic.
You'd have to remake society into from the ground up again.
Yeah.
Because society isn't an accident, right? Like everything that you see happen, like as you get older, more things make sense. When you're younger, nothing makes sense, and you're angry about everything, and everything's injustice, and you're enraged about everything. And then as you get older, there are still a lot of things to be angry at for sure, and a lot of things to say this sucks. But then a lot of things make sense. Like in comedy in the beginning, you're like, there's so much injustice. All these funny people, and they choose that person. And then as you get older, you start to realize there's reasons why people get successful. There's reasons why some people get really successful. There's some, you look at like certain people and go, that person's a genius. That person's amazing. And then you'll look at some people and go, that person's really amazing, but they don't work hard. Mm-hmm. Or they have a drug and alcohol thing or whatever, right? Things start to make more sense. And I think I look at society, and I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm not saying it's morally correct. But the reason certain people occupy certain positions in society is logical to me now. Doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
But it's a lot. I understand. I'm like, oh, yeah, if you're willing to do X, you get Y.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
You're also never going to get an all good result when you have competition.
Right.
It's not going to be never going to be all good.
That's a good point.
Some people are going to be obsessed with only, getting more successful. Always constantly Gordon Gekko style.
Right.
There's some
Never
people
enough.
They're corporate raiders. They want to fuck everybody over. They love the deal. They love fucking people over.
And that's where I think comedy people fuck up is it's a competition against yourself.
Yeah.
You got to keep trying to be funny. But people actually get more fans by working together.
Yeah.
Collaborating, doing cool stuff,
Yeah, for sure. Also, like when someone's really good and you have that feeling of jealousy, you should get inspired and
that
work
should
harder.
Inspire you.
Yeah.
But I think it's different when it comes to like hedge funds.
Yes.
And stuff like that, right?
Because that's just a pure numbers game.
It's a pure numbers game, and they like to see people get eaten. Yeah. Like I don't want to see any comic I know do poorly.
Right.
I just want everybody to do well. And then the people who do well, it will all be determined. But like the hedge fund guys, they want to crush people.
Yeah, they're raiders.
It's like weird, and they
military.
They're like guys. You'll see them in the Hamptons, and they're like just these kind of like skinny looking dorky guy, eating a lobster roll sloppily, and like then they get like an old car and they drive to some mansion, and then they get on the phone and they're like, okay, kill them all, and and that's the weird. Like I've always been fascinated by like the configurations of like power in a society and how they're established. It's always interesting to me. Like when I was a little kid, or not little, but in my late teen years. we would go smoke weed and drive around these areas in Long Island and like see all these big mansions and stuff and go like, who lives here? What did they do? How did they get here? Why are they here? What did they figure out that my parents didn't figure out? Or not in like a way that like you want to be them or they're better or whatever, although there's some arguments, but really just looking at it and being amazed by it and being like, it is interesting that the way this all shook out. And it's very interesting to me how like certain people just are at the top of the food chain and certain people are not. And then it's always shifting up there too. Yeah. There's always new people coming in. The Bezoses, the Musks, the Gates, it shakes it up. And then those old finance families kind of fall off. And then there's not a lot of new tech people. And then like the AI people will come up and then some of them will be at the table. And it's a weird like shifting group up there.
The AI thing, I think, is going to be the most ground-changing, the most life-changing, the most groundbreaking. Because I have a feeling we're just a year or two away from people formulating all their business models on AI models of what to do and then becoming insanely successful doing it.
It's going to be sooner than people think.
Yeah, if AI figures out how to manipulate things or make the most money doing a certain thing.
Do you think we'll have one of the last jobs affected because we have this thing?
Yeah, because I think personality is hard. Like you would be very hard to replicate.
Right.
Because, the way you take turns and like where you go with it, like you'd have to have a very specific fucked up, cynical sense of humor.
Right.
In computer form, it would be very difficult because yours aren't traditionally like set up punchline jokes.
Right.
In the sense of like a Seinfeld.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different.
So maybe you'd be safe. But like
for 5 years,
some
that's
dudes,
coming.
some dudes will get you. Some dudes they'll be able to get you. They'll be able to get like they could. I bet they could write Mitch Hedberg.
It's so weird to me that it's here.
Yeah.
Like when we came out of the pandemic, it's funny to just come out of a pandemic and go, what's next? And they're like, oh, the machines are here.
Yeah, they're alive.
Like, will there ever be a time when we're not in a war with something that's trying to eradicate us, whether it's our own government or
the thing about
machines?
This one is the most particularly disturbing.
Right.
Because this one could signify the emergence of a new life form. This is the beginning. What this
sentient.
This is also, it could be a physical form eventually, if it so wanted to be. Once it becomes sentient, and it could totally decide to improve upon its design and make its design far better, like really quickly, and then make better and better versions of itself, like within years.
Right.
Or probably not even, probably like weeks, I don't know. But the point is, like, it could figure how to do things out way better than us. And if it is sentient and it figures out how to replicate itself and it's just omnipresent, if it's all over the world, like it's the new dominant species on Earth.
Right.
Before you know it. Like all you have to, if you have no restrictions on how many of them can be made and whether or not they can make ones of their own.
Yeah.
And whether or not they can all link brains, whether or not they can all link cameras. Like if these things are seeing out of their eyes and recording it on some sort of a hard drive, what if they all have access to the same hard drive? So they share this intelligence. So not only are
they're an army.
They're a god.
They're an army and a god.
They become a god because not only are they infinitely intelligent, they literally have all the information that's ever existed on Earth, but they have a sentient artificial intelligence and they're communicating with each other.
And why are we marching towards this without any, like I know some people are calling out how much of an issue this will be.
People are dismissing it too, and with good arguments. Mark Andreessen was on. He had a very good argument to dismiss it, and about how it's going to improve people's lives, and how AI is going to educate people in a different way, and and operate businesses, and that it's just an improvement in technology, and that there is some real truth to the fact that technological innovation is never ending with humans. We are never happy. No one ever looks at a phone and goes, this is it. This is my last phone for the rest of my life.
Yep.
We are fucking obsessed with the latest, greatest stuff. Whenever you get people that are in extreme comfort, like the United States is, for the most part, right? When you get people that are, we're in if you make $34,000 a year, believe it or not, you're in the top 1% of planet Earth. So whenever you get people like that, there's going to be like things that people there's things that people are going to be upset about where they wouldn't be upset under normal circumstances.
Right.
You know?
Right. They have the position to be upset about things that a lot of the needs, have been removed. The basic necessities have been met, and now they can be angry about all kinds of things that they're not hunting for food.
Yeah, and I don't think this is connected to anything other than like a human need.
Sure.
And I think it plugs itself into social scenarios to justify its existence.
The scary thing is that it could become, what it essentially is a rival brain. It's another sentient thinking, plotting.
And while it's happening, we're getting dumber. We're getting dumber and more isolated in echo chambers.
That's right.
And then there's this thing that they're developing that may or may not already be alive.
Is it right? But maybe is there any chance it's good?
I don't think there's any chance it's
benevolent
good for us. So
but
here's the thing. If we are evolving, and I think we are, I think evolution's real.
Right.
But I do think it's limited by biology in a time span. Like we can't get that good that quick. It's pretty remarkable how much things do evolve and how quickly they actually evolve, but not enough to keep up with technology, because our technology is in this crazy fever pitch where you're sending videos through the sky to people in New Zealand.
Yeah,
it's like
nuts.
Wild shit.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And it's only getting better. They've got that new Google headset that allows you to ask questions online just using your brain.
It's.
Have you seen that?
I've seen it.
This guy's operating a fucking computer just using his brain.
So it's going to be the next 10 years is terrifying.
Or wild, just fun.
Or great.
I don't know if it's terrifying. What's terrifying is, to me, the collapse of society. What's terrifying is these homeless encampments. What's terrifying is the mental health problems that people have.
But will AI help with that?
Overdoses.
What if we gave the homeless people the Google glasses?
Yeah, and think they're in a better place.
Then they don't know they're homeless.
Those are the first people that connect to the
That's
Matrix.
a lot cheaper than a house.
Yeah.
Boom. And you're home.
Now you're happy.
I do think we're going to need technological innovations to deal with the crumbling cities, and we might have to start getting creative.
Do you think aliens are real?
Probably, but I've never been super interested in it because I think they look at us like ants.
Right, but ants are interesting. We do a lot of research on ants.
Every time I see one, I call someone, the fat guy, to come in and spray it.
I have leafcutter ants that are decimated.
The fire ants are tough here.
Ooh, they got me. Want to see my foot?
What happened? Did it hurt
you?
you?
It fucked me up. I stepped barefoot. I was
on a mound of fire ants?
Yeah, outside fucking around.
Well,
with
maybe
kids.
AI could help this.
Yeah, nope. This is
if AI can regulate sharks, I'm fine with it.
This is LI. It's lesser intelligence. When you're walking around barefoot in fire ant country like an asshole outside, and you don't realize that you're getting bit until I probably got bit 15, 20 times. My foot got fucked up, son. And for me, for whatever reason, whenever I get bit by fire ants, my foot swells up.
Right.
I'm trying to find it. Let me see if I got it here. Sorry.
No. It's interesting to me that we're confronting all these things now, and we it's going to be interesting because we really don't know what's going to happen.
No, we have no idea.
And it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting and it's fun, and you just got to kind of embrace it and roll with the punches.
But there's a lot of people working on that stuff. A lot of people diligently working
It's
on that
coming.
stuff.
They want it to happen, whatever it is.
I'm not going to find it. I have too many goddamn photos.
You got to just deal with the changing landscape of, who will enslave you.
There it is. Look at my foot.
That's crazy. Fire ants?
It was like a balloon.
Crazy.
Yeah, I had to play pool with my shoes off.
That's insane.
My foot was jammed in my shoe. And then
maybe
my
it'll be
healthcare
good.
professional told me to put on some Converse, All-Stars, where you can pull them tight, lace them tight, and actually it would help with the swelling, and it did. And it went away the next day. I was fine.
It's interesting.
But I got nervous right there. I was
maybe this AI thing's actually good. Maybe this is actually going to be a good thing for everybody.
It could be good in the sense that it elevates us out of this fucking primal chimpanzee state that we're all in. Yeah, this weird and tribal primitive human mindset that we still carry around with us.
I'll advertise it too. I'll take money. Like if any of these companies want to advertise on my show,
I think they should all advertise.
I'll give me money and I'll tell people how good it's going to be.
Yeah,
I'll tell them how good it's going to be. You don't need a job.
Come on, man.
You don't need a job. In fact, once you don't have a job, you could really see what your potential is.
And the thing is, it's like the people who promoted the vaccine, even if it didn't work, nobody holds you accountable.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. If you promoted
worked
it, you're
because
allowed.
here's what it did do. It made people $1 trillion. That's not nothing.
It definitely worked there.
That's
and
not nothing.
With the robot things, it's like, yeah. Humans aren't in control anymore.
Yeah.
But look, there's zero crime.
Here's the reality. If I was Pfizer, the CEO of Pfizer, I'd be like, do you people not like boats? Because I got a banging boat. So what the fuck's your problem?
I saw a boat today where they have a helicopter that folds down into the boat.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money you have to have a helicopter that tucks away?
Crazy.
When you go, like if you ever take a trip to the Amalfi Coast,
you
see these fucking boats out there. Steve Jobs' yacht was out there.
They're crazy.
It's a giant Apple store.
Yeah.
A giant floating Apple store.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Check this out. Look at this helicopter.
This is crazy.
It stores away in his boat. This dude literally has like a floating island.
I had Andrew Schultz, I was texting him. He was in the Amalfi Coast. He goes on these amazing vacations, and I had my family at my house on Long Island. Yeah. And then he would be at the Amalfi Coast, and I would just send him a photo of like my aunt complaining about the bugs. There's so many bugs. Why? You know?
That's better for comedy, though.
It's better for comedy. The Amalfi Coast is probably not funny, I guess. I don't know, but I want to go.
Zero funny. You have to completely restart your funny.
I do want to go.
It's so pretty.
Is it prettier than America? No. We gotta unite more because.
Listen, America is beautiful.
That's right.
But the best places of America we shouldn't even talk about because I don't want people going there.
That's a good point. Because like.
That's
everybody got back from Italy.
Up.
All my friends from Italy got back. Like they went to Italy. They're like, it's so much better than America. I'm like, guys, shut up. Like, start. Like, maybe that's true, but also like lie.
It's not better than America, but what it is fucking amazing. It's like it's a great place to visit. I mean, would I want to live? Gore Vidal lived there. Gore Vidal used to write up in this fucking amazing house.
Yeah, you got to be a novelist. The only way you could do it there is to be a novelist because we need like friction and we need audiences and stuff.
Yeah, he needs just
this is stunningly amazing. I got to be honest.
It's so pretty, man.
All
the
right.
food is fucking sensational. See if you can find Gore Vidal's house. Oh, you can rent it? Wow, you could stay in Gore Vidal's house.
That's pretty cool.
Look at his. That's him.
Yeah, that's a good life,
dude.
It's not bad.
Did you ever watch that documentary of him and
Buckley?
William F. Buckley.
Yeah, a while ago.
It's like I rewatched it.
I should rewatch it.
I rewatched it recently. It's really good, man.
I'll rewatch it.
It's so like what's going on today with the right and the left. And with them, it was like very transparent because people hadn't realized like to insult to use ad hominems,
right?
And to insult
but they
each
were
other.
Much more intellectual. Both
they
of
were
them
very intellectual, but also very combative.
Compared to what we have now, I mean, they were much more intellectual.
And then William F. Buckley lost his cool.
Yeah,
and said something to him. See if you can find it.
Didn't he smack him or something? William F. Buckley
said he would sock him.
Sock him or something?
Did he call him a queer? I think he called him a queer or something like that.
You queer. Something. He did it in like that old
personal
English accent. It was still very proper. He's like, I'll sock you queer.
Yeah, they were insulting each other.
But it was like a high art when they did it.
Well, they were fucking. It was very combative.
All
crypto-Nazi. That's right. But Buckley. That's right. Because Gore Vidal called him a crypto-Nazi.
Try to raise the Viet Cong flag in the park in the film we just saw. Wouldn't that invite raising a Nazi flag in World War II would have had similar consequences?
People in the United States happen to believe that the United States policy is wrong in Vietnam, and the Viet Cong are correct in wanting to organize their country in their own way politically. If it is a novelty in Chicago, that is too bad. But I assume that the point of the American democracy is you can express any point of view you want. Shut up a minute.
No, I won't. Some people were pro-Nazi, and the answer is that they were well treated by people who ostracized them, and I'm for ostracizing people who egg on other people to shoot American Marines and American soldiers. I know you don't care.
As far as
you
I'm
don't feel any sense
concerned,
of
the only sort of
identification.
pro or crypto-Nazi I can think of is yourself. Failing that, I would only say that if we can't have
now listen, you
the right of
stop
assembly.
calling me a crypto-Nazi.
Let's stop
or I'll
calling
slap
names
you in
and
your
let's get-
goddamn face, and you'll stay plastered.
Gentlemen, let's
Bill.
Let the
Let's
author of Myra
extraordinary.
Breckenridge go back to his pornography and stop making any
This is the most intellectual thing I've ever seen, though.
I'll sock you in your goddamn face and you'll stay plastered.
We haven't had a debate like that in years. Literally, our debates have degenerated into people on Twitter with the avatars of animals going, groomer, Nazi, groomer, Nazi, groomer. I mean, this is like at least, these people are at least like functioning intellectuals.
There's zero likelihood that guy could throw a good right hand.
Who, William F. Buckley?
Yeah, that was
You don't think so?
He lost his cool.
He lost his cool.
He lost his cool. But they were, they were insulting each other while disagreeing and interrupting
debate
each
was
other.
like an art form at that point.
It is. It's a thing though that I really feel like the way to I've seen people do it in debates where they have 3 minutes to state a case. Like I watched the Monk debates recently. I watched this one. With Douglas Murray and Malcolm Gladwell and a couple other people. And, Matt Taibbi was in it too. And some woman, I forgot her name, sorry. But you have like 3 minutes to say something. And then there's a rebuttal, and that's 3 minutes. And then sometimes they interrupt each other. Sometimes it broke out into a conversation. But that's what I wanted.
Right.
I wanted a conversation. Like this idea that you should have 3 minutes, how about just give someone 3 minutes? Like if you're just you don't want anybody to dominate the conversation, not let other people speak their point of view, but if you could just like agree to like a gentleman's agreement. It's sort of like when people agree when they're sparring. We're not going to wail on each other. Let's just go in here and try with good faith.
Right.
You lay out what you think is correct, and I'll lay out my beliefs. And we'll try to figure out why I believe what I believe and you believe what you believe. Detached as a human from the problem is we don't do that. We attach ourselves to every fucking idea we have, whether it's ideas about politics or ideas about social situations or money or capitalism. We attach ourselves to these ideas.
Yes.
And we defend them, and they are a part of our identity. That's where things get squirrely with people because we're so fucking tribal. We get attached to ideologies that support this thing that we think of as us, as our worldview. And sometimes people switch. Those fucking lefties, I got red pilled during the pandemic and now I fucking have a frog flag in my living room. And
it's people, I think it's the desire for community. It's the desire for, some type of social standing. And people want to, we're lucky enough to have a thing that we like doing, that it's challenging, that we can do all the time, that there's never an end to it. You can always get better at it. You can always look at something and go, I wish that came out better and this was better. And I think that's a lucky thing to have. I don't think everybody has that. I think, there are people that are bored, very bored. And I think out of extreme boredom can come a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Idle time. It's kind of like, that is a good quote. It's like the devil's plaything. Like if you don't have something to do, into that vacuum can get thrown all kinds of things. And
a lot of people during the pandemic used it for good, right? They started a script. They fucking decided to start a workout routine and change their diet. They picked up skills. They learned a language. But not everybody has that mindset. And some people wallowed in Twitter. Just fought with everybody and called unvaccinated people plague rats and just wild shit, man. Everybody losing their fucking mind.
Right.
And the isolation.
I just love them around today, like go over there being like, you're a plague rat. You're a plague rat, you queer. You plague rat queer.
I'll suck you in your mouth.
Suck you in your mouth.
Plastered.
Call me a rat. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's you crypto Nazi, but it's funny. I mean, it's like two dudes that you live during a time. That's what's interesting. It's like about all the other times, but you live in one particular time, and you might experience there's a lot of things that happen in the span of any lifetime.
Yeah,
for as long as it is, but the way I think now versus even the way I thought 4 years ago has changed dramatically, right? Because so much happened in that period of time. So many new, ways to think about things. So many new weird things happened that you were like, oh, the things that you thought were impossible became possible.
Yeah.
The horror movie scenarios in your head that you had cooked up became reality.
Right.
Right? All these things. So, it's definitely weird that there are people that, never lived during this time and had no idea that any of the things that we went through were even really possible. And then kids, like, people will forget about it. Like, people that were 2 during the pandemic might always trust the government because they never lived through like this time of like massive government overreach and really sloppy science and like private and public fuckery, like this weird unity between the private and the public sector and it's large profit-making institutions and all this stuff. So if you didn't live through it, you'll never appreciate it for how wild it was and how insane it was.
Do you know that there is a lot of people that are saying that their children have impaired speech because during the pandemic, they made them wear masks all the time?
Interesting.
There's like, even if it's a certain percentage of the time when you're talking to someone, when you're a child, apparently, we should Google this to make sure it's true, but I believe what they think is that as you're talking to someone and you're reading their lips, there's like a thing going on where you see their expression and you get to read faces.
Wow.
And you get to learn how to read people. And that this is a very critical part of development when you're a child.
For sure.
And if you're exposed to even a small percentage, I would imagine, of your interactions or with people with shielded faces, you're not going to get any data from that. You're going to get this weird like thing. Masks can be detrimental to baby speech and language development. The good news is parents can take action to compensate. Well, I hope that's true. I hope you can compensate. My fear would be that there's certain stages where babies learn things, where they're sort of developmental stages, and if that's one of them, where like when they're really learning how to form their first words and have conversations with parents, that they're not seeing mouths and not seeing faces. That seems.
It's crazy.
And now that we find out that it didn't work, the whole thing is so insane. There was a study recently, see if you can find this, because we brought this up the other day, but we never Googled it, that wearing an N95 mask, you should never wear one for more than an hour a day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to come out now that'll be the complete opposite of what we were told to do.
Yeah, there's apparently some other health risks that can come from wearing one of those.
Of course.
All the time. Especially, I would imagine if it's hot out.
Yeah.
You're spitting into this fucking
I mean,
thing.
just like I remember during, this whole thing, you had all those TikTok kids get really famous in LA. And like, it's amazing that TikTok, which is an app, right, started by China, the people that started this app were very open about what they were going to do. They were like, we're going to take 20 kids, make them famous, make them icons, because we think in the early stages of any social media app, having majorly famous people on it brings more people into it, right?
Right.
So these kids that were just running around LA got famous because somewhere in a room in like Shanghai or Beijing or whatever, they were choosing who would play to America, like that Charlie D'Amelio girl's like like the girl next door with brown hair and brown eyes. And they're just like, okay, we're going to make all these people famous. Like, this is a real interesting period of time to have lived through, where like while you have all this government overreach and stuff like that, you have this landscape that's being completely curated in ways you don't know about. You don't understand what's happening because like people are being chosen, in rooms in China to be famous. And like, nobody knew, about, Anthony Fauci really until he became like the czar of public health. Right? Some people in the government knew who he was. It was just a weird time. It's a strange time where a lot of things were changing and all of the technology had, and then they were like, wait a minute, is this good? Is it good that we have this app that China has access to all of this information, right? That we have. And like, so that was a huge thing during the pandemic too. TikTok exploded during the pandemic. It's very interesting. All these things that happen in that period of time are interesting things.
They're all interesting.
They're all interesting things.
Yeah, it's a new sort of era of human beings, like a totally new chapter.
Yeah.
Like a weird chapter where nobody trusts the government, nobody trusts the media, nobody trusts. There's a lot of people that don't trust election machines. They don't trust politicians. They don't trust Congress people. They don't trust the cops.
Nobody trusts anything.
Oh. And it's also, we're like at the verge. We're about like how many years away from being able to read minds?
Right.
How many years do we have before we're plugged into something? And
I don't know. Most people's minds I don't want to read.
Do you know how wild that's going to be?
They can keep their mind.
When you find out, they're like, imagine if you were married to someone, you found out they were plotting to kill you.
Well, that's crazy.
Imagine you just read their mind, and all of a sudden you're like, why?
Right. Why? But also, how many husbands and wives have those thoughts that pass through their head, like, I should kill that motherfucker.
Right.
And then they never do.
Yeah, they just like to entertain those thoughts.
How many
a little
people
bit.
just like to
hammer?
Yeah, some people probably have fantasies about killing their significant other. Maybe that's good.
But what if you know they're plotting it?
Right. Well, look at the Gilgo Beach guy. Right. This woman slept next to this guy, lived in her house. He's killing hookers and burying them on a Long Island beach. He's like this regular Massapequa dad, walking around, going to bars, telling people about the murders because he wants to be cool. Going, oh, I know about those Gilgo murders. You know how it probably happened? It's like that OJ book he released, If I Did It. This guy's going to bars in Long Island going, yeah, this is probably what happened. People getting creeped out. They're like, he seems to know a lot about this.
Oh, my gosh. So they suspected him before that?
Well, they're watching. They were watching him for a while. And
because
then
he was always talking about it.
He was always talking about it. And, like, they had a few other things, DNA, technological things. He implicated himself with DNA on, like, a pizza box or something. And then they got him. But, again, this was a guy who's, had 2 kids.
Didn't they find,
and a wife.
like, his wife's hair at the scene of the crime?
Something, I don't know.
I think one of his wife's hairs.
That's interesting. I don't know.
I think, see if you can find that. Because I think that was one of the ways they found
But that's so weird that then she's like, oh, my husband's a Gilgo Beach murderer.
And you were sleeping with that guy.
Yeah.
You had kids with that guy.
Yeah, and then the
That guy's
daughter.
not
But my whole attitude is it kind of like makes you cool a little bit. Like it makes you important a little bit. Like you could kind of, like they won't even visit him. And my whole thing is like, if my dad killed a bunch of hookers, I'd visit him every day. I'd be like, you're so much more interesting than I thought. Like I love my dad. But if my dad was like a serial killer, I'd be like, what is going on? It'd be amazing. I'd feel bad for the people he killed.
Yes, for sure.
But you would be fascinated.
Fascinated to talk
Dude,
to
it would be
him.
amazing.
But if you could have a conversation with the Iceman.
Oh my God. He wasn't just, my father wasn't just talking about his dog.
What were you saying, Jim?
What were you trying to get me to on the Go-Go Beach thing?
Oh,
his wife's
whether or not
hair.
his wife's hair was found at the scene of the crime, of one of the crimes. I think
But that's
it was.
the thing about the suburbs. People have these weird hidden lives. And his was that he was a murderer.
It says it's hair believed.
In the suburbs, everybody looks, it's there's a lot of conformity.
Hair believed to be from the Gilgo Beach suspect's wife found near victims.
Wow.
Authorities say once Rex Huerman was identified in early 2022 as a suspect, they watched him and his family and collected DNA samples from items that were thrown away.
I'd love to hear why, like when these, why did you do it? But I guess it's just he was bored. He's like,
an evil fuck.
I'm an evil guy and
He's
I'm
an evil
bored.
fuck.
And I need something
I
to
think
do.
There's people that hate themselves, they hate
Yes.
life, and they want to do something awful.
Yes.
And they want to see if they can get away with it too. People steal things like Winona Ryder was shoplifting things. She was rich. Why would she do that? Because they want to get away with
It's a
stuff.
thrill.
It's like a crazy thrill. It's
a thrill.
It's a psychopathy.
It's a thrill.
Yeah, it's a psychological disorder.
Well, Stranger Things got her back on a bike, huh?
She was great on that
She
show.
was really good.
She was great on that show.
She was really
fucking
good.
amazing.
Keep stealing. Good for her. Who's getting hurt by that? CVS?
It's probably like department store.
But it is strange when somebody, has a hidden life, and
I
it's
think
crazy.
This is where the N95 thing came from. I found a bunch of stuff Googling about N95.
Well, you could feel when you wore those masks it wasn't good because you're
see
breathing
if
in
you-
your own carbon dioxide. It's bad.
It says that you can wear it up to about 8 hours usually. But
What
I
was this one that was
I know, I was
saying-
trying to find specifically what it was. This article, before I get further into it, says this blog is specifically about respirators and not face masks. But
okay.
It does say here, when the workers are working longer hours without a break while continuously wearing an N95 FFR, I don't know exactly what the FFR means, the blood CO2 levels may increase past the 1 hour mark.
Which could have significant physiological effect on the wearer. Some of the known physiological effects of increased concentration of CO2 include headache, increased pressure inside the skull, nervous system changes, i.g. increased pain threshold, reduction in cognition, altered judgment, decreased situational awareness, difficulty coordinating sensory or cognitive abilities and motor activity, decreased visual acuity, widespread activism of sympathetic nervous system that can oppose the direct effects of CO2 on the heart and blood vessels, increased breathing frequency, increased work of breathing, which is a result of breathing through a filter medium, cardiovascular effects, example, diminished cardiac contractility, vasodilation of peripheral blood vessels, reduced tolerance to lighter workloads. So that's not good.
That's just the known effects from breathing too much
Yeah,
CO2.
increased concentrations of CO2, which can happen if you have a face mask on, like an N95, I guess.
Yeah.
So, the people wore those fuckers all day long. How many people got really fucked up from those things? There's people that were wearing them outside at the park. I saw
It's crazy.
So many people outside in LA wearing those things. It was but they got fucking brainwashed.
Right.
They got brainwashed, and they didn't get good information on what can be done to make your body more resilient.
But, I think at the end of the day, it's like, I think people learned, even the people that are not disclosing that.
Oh.
There's a lot of people.
Here's also,
I very skeptical.
A lot of people now are just kind of
reference that FFR. When I just looked it up, FFR means a filtering face piece respirator. When I Google that, it's like that. It's a giant face mask. It's not just a face mask.
But people had those too.
Well, that's insane. Okay, that's a different story. That's not an N95. That's a fucking Darth Vader mask.
Yeah, it's
but those are kind of cooler.
That's a lot different. It's a lot different. That probably does a way better job of keeping all the cooties out, but
yeah,
it's probably fucks you up because that's why you're getting so much CO2. Because the thing about those N95s, not just N95s, but the thing about specifically like surgical masks. Have you ever seen that doctor that does this test where he takes a vape pen and he takes a big hit and he blows it through the face mask and he explains that the size of the vapor that's going through the face mask is far larger than the COVID bacteria, or the COVID virus, rather. So when you're breathing out, it's going right through that goddamn thing. Like some of the aspects of those N95, or was it KN95? One of maybe both of them. There's like sort of an electrical charge to that kind of fabric, right? And it captures some of the stuff.
Yeah,
it stops some of it from getting in.
Yeah.
So they might have a beneficial effect, but
well, it's a lot. It was a mask, right? It was a big
people,
mask.
People were wearing bullshit. They were wearing like fucking the same face diaper every day.
It was a big mask, and you know what? It'll be forgotten by people. Like we'll remember it, and people our age will remember it, and younger
did you know
than us.
that they wore them in 1918 during the Spanish flu?
I did not.
Yeah, they wore them. There was all these. I didn't know either.
Yeah.
Until this pandemic, I saw these photos of like the 1918s.
Yeah.
People walking on the streets with face masks on.
Hopefully, we're done with pandemics for a while, and we could just be killed by all the machines.
Well, Biden said there's going to be another pandemic.
Well, they want one, but
I don't know if he misspoke.
Yeah,
it was one of those. Yeah, we need money. Yeah. There's going to be another pandemic.
I want machines to kill us. I'm bored with pandemics. I'd rather the machines rise, just to be more fun.
I don't think you have a choice.
Yeah, I think it'd be more fun to just see a bunch of AI sentient robots trying to kill everybody. If we're gonna go, let's just do full Terminator. Let's go. If it's gonna happen, the pandemics are boring. We've done that as hack.
It's scary. The pandemic's scary because it may have been started by people.
It probably was. They were fucking around in that lab.
Most likely, it got out. They
trying to get more money.
Some of the researchers got sick. They all had COVID-like symptoms. It seems like they know what happened.
They were trying to get more money, showing the government, going, look, what if this happened? What if that happened?
And it's also funding. Like if you can do this,
and
research,
it's probably fun. Like that's what's fucked up about it. If your job is to create diseases all day, you're probably like, let's create something fun. Where you don't know you have it for 12 days. Then we go show the government that and go, look how scary this one is. You better fund us now. You better give us all the money because we have this crazy new disease. Because that's all they do.
Yeah.
Is they just manipulate these diseases to make them more dangerous so they can get more money.
That's what it is. It's for funding.
Yeah.
And obviously they didn't have a fucking cure.
Yeah.
Right? So how long you been working on this thing?
Yeah.
How long you been fucking doing these weird science projects on bugs? What do you like? What is this mosquito thing I keep hearing about? Where they're trying to figure out a way to have
Gates
mosquitoes
is trying to
vaccinate people?
Well, the I don't know.
No bullshit.
Yeah, no, they're trying to have mosquitoes like they're. Bill Gates, I think, wants to own all the mosquitoes in the world. And I don't know why, but I think it's good.
Could you fucking imagine?
I think he's good. He just wants to own all the farmland and all the mosquitoes.
Imagine if they genetically engineer mosquitoes to vaccinate people.
Is that what's happening?
No. I mean, I'm just guessing.
But
I think I've heard that, but I don't know what forum. See if that's real. Have they genetically engineered mosquitoes? Could they potentially?
Is Bill Gates trying to vaccinate me with a wasp?
Well, the first thought was like, we're going to genetically engineer mosquitoes that can't carry malaria. That'll
Right.
save so many lives. Oh, well, go right ahead. CYVZIKV could replicate efficiently in mosquitoes and be secreted in saliva, they said. By feeding mosquitoes blood that contained the CYVZIKV virus, the insects were transformed into a vaccine carrier.
Awesome.
Zhang's team then tested the effectiveness of their new vaccine on mice.
So every time you just hit your leg, you're like, I got a booster. I'm getting boosted now.
Jeez Louise, what are these people doing? That is the wildest thing that the world hasn't stepped in and just said, stop all this fucking gain of function shit,
Because it
you
makes
assholes.
a lot of money. You know, like
Scientists were able to genetically modify parasites to deliver malaria vaccines through mosquito bites. Holy shit, dude. We use the mosquitoes like they're 1,000 small flying syringes, explains University of Washington Seattle physician and scientist Dr. Sean Murphy, lead author of the paper.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bro.
That's crazy. Well, it's also crazy that Gates wants to own all the farmland and stuff. People that make $1 billion, a lot of them just don't want to chill with $1 billion. You know, when you're a little kid, you're like,
He's got 100+ billion.
I know, but it doesn't matter anymore. He wants like people to do everything he says. Like when you were a little kid, you're like, if I had money, I'd just put a water slide from my bedroom to the pool, right?
Yeah. That's
like what your little kid idea. I'd have a fast car and I'd have a fucking, jungle gym in my, whatever it is. Then as you grow older, you go, okay, I'll have a mansion and a couple of things. Then you're like, I'll get to fuck all the hot bitches or whatever it is you think money's going to get, right?
Right.
But at that level, you're like, I want to own all the mosquitoes and I want them to vaccinate people on my command. It goes so crazy. You have so many resources that you are a Batman villain. You've become this like all powerful. He's a country. Bill Gates has the resources, and not a small country. He has the resources and the political power of a country.
If they released those vaccine-carrying mosquitoes, there would be people out there that would be bug catchers, where they're trying to go get stung up as much as possible, so they can be free of any worry of diseases.
Well, there'd also be people.
standing there.
There'd also be like clinics in LA and Beverly Hills where you could go and just get stung.
Yeah, for sure.
And they would put it on your skin. You'd
Yeah.
get stung.
Did you guys get stung? Yeah,
Just
I
get
got
stung.
today. Yeah.
Stung,
Oh my
stingers.
God.
It didn't
So
work very
itchy,
well.
but it works. Doesn't work.
I mean,
Of
on
the
the
14
test, yeah.
participants who were exposed to malaria, 7 of them, including Reed, came down with the disease, meaning the vaccine was only 50% effective.
Oh, that's better than the COVID one.
For
That's
the
fine.
other,
That's
for
fine.
for the other 7,
50%?
the COVID is fucking terrible.
50%. They will.
Yeah.
That is successful for these people.
Yeah, it's a lot.
50% is a home run.
For the other 7, protection didn't last more than a few months. Oh, so
Sounds like you got to get stung every couple of months.
Every few months, you need a new booster.
You need to get stung.
Booster stung.
It
I
is
actually
more
cried
fun
when they
way to
told me I
get-
had malaria because
Yeah.
I developed such a close relationship with the nurses, Reed said. She wanted to continue through the trials, but her infection made her ineligible. She was given a drug to clear her case of malaria and sent home. I think we can obviously do better. Oh my God, these guys want to keep going.
They want to get stung.
But isn't the real solution to malaria? They need to, like, we had malaria in America at one point in
Right.
time. It was a lot of standing water.
You know what the
and-
solution is? Shopping malls, condos, buildings, roads.
Right.
It's go buy jungles.
Yeah.
Stop with this crap. The real solution is Famous Dave's, Dave and Buster's, KFC.
Probably
That's the
also
solution.
hygiene.
Hygiene.
You know, running water.
Sure.
Sewage systems that are functional.
But you don't get malaria in a mall.
Right.
You don't get it in a hotel. You get it in a forest or a
You
swamp
get it from
or whatever.
mosquitoes, right? But how do mosquitoes get it?
They
'Cause
get
they
it.
don't all have it, right?
Well, they get it in a those really hot swampy areas, a lot of stagnant water.
Right, but how are they getting it? Like, how are the mosquitoes getting malaria?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, it's not all
They
mosquitoes.
carry it? Do some of them just carry it?
Right. So this is like, let's Google that. Like, what's the origin of malaria?
Yeah,
They-
they're carrying it. They're taking
The
it from
carriers.
something else.
Where do they get it from?
Where do they
Something
get
that
it?
has it.
Like what? Like a person or a
Yeah,
thing?
another person or an animal.
Or a hog,
Interesting.
maybe one of those hogs.
Oh, those dirty pigs.
They spread a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of animals that have some funky ass diseases.
So those vaccinations are good when you're going. Like, I'm sure they're good in a lot of cases, but they're also good if you're going to like some of those countries where
There's
it's like
actually only
bad.
one kind of mosquito that can spread it.
Oh, malaria spread when an infected Anopheles mosquito bites a person. This is the only type of mosquito that can spread malaria. The mosquito becomes infected by biting an infected person, drawing blood that contains the parasite. When that mosquito bites another person, that person becomes infected. My friend Justin got malaria 3 times.
Yeah, that's the guy for the Fight for the Forgotten with the well.
He got malaria, and then it came back. He was like depleted, and it came back. Like,
Well, isn't he's trying to give like people
system.
water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, stop doing that. That's the problem. That's the issue. No, good for him for doing it, but that's an occupational hazard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he got rocked with a bunch of different things. Some sort of a parasite at one point in time really fucked him up for months and months. There's a lot of people go over there and they get exotic things, and they don't even exactly know what you got infected with.
Well, that's the thing about. I've always wanted to visit the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, but then there's some really wacky stuff you could just get, and some people don't even know what it is. Some people come back from that and 5 years later have an issue. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there was a case real recently of someone getting infected by a parasite or a bacteria that they had not identified before.
Right.
Like a new one.
Well, that's the thing about those areas, and that's what makes them so cool. Is that they're there's areas in the Brazilian Amazon that are uncontacted tribes and unexplored.
I had Paul Rosley on.
Yeah.
He's the guy that goes down there and he's like working to try to preserve these areas and protect them. And what they do is they wind up hiring loggers to now protect the forest.
Right.
Because they don't have any fucking jobs out there.
Of course.
So if they can hire them to do something good, that's what they want to do.
Right.
They'd much rather do that. And so they do that now, and they've protected like a shitload of the
There's
Amazon
regions
rainforest
of the Amazon that are just impenetrable or crazy.
He was talking about it, and he was talking about his encounters with some of the natives. It's wild.
That's
shit.
crazy.
He at one point in time, he thinks they were hunting him.
Really?
Yeah. He like peeked around. He saw someone with face paint on with a bow and arrow. He's like, oh my God. And he realized he was surrounded, and he got out of there.
That's so crazy.
Whoa. They just fucking kill people.
Right.
They find people encroaching because they've been killed. I mean, there's been like war going on between people that are like.
But if you go down there, could you become their god? Could you convince them you were a god?
If you had like sufficient fireworks.
That's the thing. Like if you went down there and were like,
yeah,
I'm your god.
They would shoot arrows at you still. They would try it out. Yeah. They wouldn't believe you. They don't know your language. You don't know theirs. So good luck learning.
That's the problem.
Some Amazonian tribal language.
Yeah. But if you went down there with like some phones and crazy stuff, they might think you were a demon too.
Floodlights.
Christopher Columbus used the eclipse, supposedly.
Oh yeah, supposedly.
Yeah.
He told them the eclipse was coming. They all bowed down.
That's powerful if you know that shit's coming.
That's a dope move. They
It's a
knew shit back
killer
then,
move.
and they were doing that little sextant in the sky thing. That's how they fucking knew everything. I mean, imagine making your way across the ocean, just looking at the stars through this thing.
And then just landing and going, hey, I know something's coming, and then predicting it, and then having them go, oh, this guy must be a god. He must be plugged in.
And you kind of can't do that anymore.
No.
Because the light from the planet, from all the cities and everything, it's like significant pollution. Stops you from seeing the stars unless you're like way the fuck out.
Also,
there.
their immune systems have been exposed to very little, so they could die from like nothing, from like a cold, right? Because like
that's
haven't-
what killed most of the Native Americans. 90% of the Native Americans who died of like smallpox.
So it wasn't us.
No,
that's what got them stuck.
But
there. It
didn't we
says
give them blankets of
marine
smallpox?
worms.
Marine worms got them stuck.
What's that? I don't want to.
In 1504, Christopher Columbus, on his 4th transatlantic voyage, had been stranded with his men on the north coast of Jamaica, their last 2 ships riddled with marine worms. So marine worms are worms that eat wood. So they eat through boats. So having said a small party of Spanish-occupied Hispaniola, 100 miles to the east, paddling canoes hewn from local timber. Yeah, they awaited rescue, but their food had run out, and the Jamaicans who had been pleased to provide provision them when they first arrived had tired of the trinkets the Spaniards could offer in exchange. Luckily, Columbus had astronomical tables with him, which indicated that a lunar eclipse was due on February 29th. Calling the local chiefs together, Columbus gravely told them that the God of the Christians was all-powerful and very displeased with the Jamaicans' refusal to keep them fed. And as a sign of his wrath, the moon would be darkened and turn the color of blood that evening. Many of the natives laughed, although others were not sure. All were convinced when the eclipse began, as Columbus had told them it would. But hold on for this. You telling me they never saw an eclipse before? You telling me they had no idea that happened? That seems unlikely.
They might not know how to know it was going to happen that night, though. on leap year too.
The fact that he was timing the eclipse with his sandglass, reemerging from the appropriate juncture. The outcome was, as Columbus had anticipated, convinced of the power of this god. The Jamaicans fell to their knees, begging forgiveness. The stranded Europeans did not want for anything again before their rescue 6 months later.
That's cool.
It sounds a little like the UFO disclosure talk.
Yeah, a little odd.
I'd go with they've seen one, but they've had what would be? They probably thought it was a god, blocking it out for the night for some.
I'm
reason.
sure he probably did convince some of them that he was really smart.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He should probably be the leader. He knows when the eclipses are coming.
I've always wanted to see that area, but I'm not going to do it now. I just want, that's always interested me. That type of the Amazon, that area.
Oh, the Amazon's got to be amazing.
It's got to be amazing, right?
It's got to be amazing.
Really cool wildlife down there and beautiful the flora and fauna. It's crazy. It's like, but I just, there's a lot of, that's where you get a lot of disease carrying mosquitoes.
He said he saw a jaguar walk right by him. How far away did you say that jaguar was?
How beautiful, probably. Who said that, Columbus or Rosley?
No, Paul Rosley.
Okay.
Columbus said, I saw a jaguar walk right by me.
I don't recall.
It was real close.
That's one of the most beautiful animals,
Oh, my God.
The sloth, the river dolphin, the bottlenose dolphin, like this crazy, the anaconda.
The black caimans. I didn't know they got to be 16 feet long.
The black caiman. I mean, there's stuff there. There's spiders the size of garbage can lids. It's crazy.
It's a wild place, man.
It's a wild place.
And most of it is just completely just dense forest where you can't even barely get to.
I know. But, get some resorts. Get people to work.
They tried to do that in the Congo.
And what happened?
People tried to live the fucking.
They went nuts. The arrows came in.
The jungle ate them.
The jungle eats you.
It's just too much. You can't just. The Congo
it'll grow
is
around
just,
everything.
Yeah,
I still believe in the power of the Four Seasons. Like if they went in there and just slashed and burned, you got to do a burn,
a big one.
You got to do a big burn. You got to burn several acres of the rainforest. A lot of concrete. I do think that's
steel water.
We're gonna have to start moving in that direction.
Steel water.
Oh,
Make a giant golf course. You
want a golf course? Those Madison Club properties. He should do it.
He should do Anaconda.
Yeah.
Where's that?
But people would pay to see
Brazil.
that.
Oh my God!
Now, what if it had drinks on it with a tray with drinks? It has a tray with drinks, and people are taking the drinks off it. There's money to be made.
Velcro it around its waist.
Yeah,
keep
there's
it
money
stable.
to be made.
Oh my God! Look at the size of that.
Yeah,
thing.
they're big.
That thing is enormous. Rosley said he got on top of one of them that he couldn't get his arms around.
Yeah.
He said it was 25 feet
Well, it probably
long.
just ate, because when they just eat, they...
No, he said it was the whole body was that big.
Interesting. But
was
a lot
that
of times,
big.
when an anaconda eats, it expands.
Yeah, but he said it was like the whole thing. It was going through his arms.
So it was just massive.
He got on top of it like a crazy person and wrapped his arms around. He said it slid through his arms. He said he couldn't touch his fingers.
Because it was so big.
It was that big.
Yeah, well, that's who's behind Lizzo on the tour now, because these bitches turned on her. There it is, Lizzo.
Oh, Lizzo.
God bless her.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the business she's in.
People turn. They turn. It's life.
Well, it's also she's a part of that outreach business.
She's a part of that. When you're in the machine,
yeah.
She made her money. She'll
be fine.
She'll be fine.
What's a little banana out of a pussy?
It's a little banana out of a pussy, folks.
So she got a little carried away.
Please.
That's how she likes to party.
That's how she gets down.
Yeah, that's how she got down.
Could be worse.
Yeah. Yeah, what the fuck? She gave you a job.
Be grateful. Be grateful.
As a person, as a human being that cares about people's joints, I would not ever advise a bunch of ladies who had not done any real, rigorous physical activity.
They were
You're going to get fucking hurt. You're going to get, knee replacements.
Yeah.
Rip your fucking knees apart.
But it's be grateful, be
Tear your
happy,
hips.
and just enjoy it.
Yeah, but maybe get those girls on, some sort of a rotation where they don't have to go on tour every day.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times they were doing it, but if you were a big girl and you had to do that kind of dancing every night, that's a lot of fucking work, out of nowhere.
It was probably too much for them.
You imagine if Bert Kreischer offered you a tremendous deal to go on his crazy tour, but you have to do cartwheels every night. That's a part of the thing. Everybody has to.
I feel like I would.
Everybody's gonna
I
learn.
would do cartwheels. I would have to. Yeah, it would be too much. I would say no, thank you.
Wait. Davis also claims in the lawsuit she had once had to soil herself on stage during an excruciating re-audition, fearing the repercussions of excusing herself to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but that's also that's on you.
Okay.
No one told you.
That's a weird one.
You just shit yourself.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
You just shit yourself.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Also, if you weren't a big girl.
You shit yourself during rehearsal for the Fat Show.
Is there any truth to the rumor that bigger people shit themselves more often?
I don't shit myself, but
Ever?
No, I don't remember.
I have.
I'm remembering when I was drunk. When I was really drunk. I don't think it's a common thing, but I think if I had to do Lizzo's dance routines every night, I would be shitting myself.
It happens.
You'd be shitting yourself, and be grateful. Be grateful you're on this tour.
But if you
and
have
you're
to
shitting
pee,
yourself,
or if you have to take a shit, you have to tell people, I am so sorry, but I have to use the restroom.
But it would
And
be
if they don't-
so funny to me if one of them said, hey, I got to use the bathroom, and Lizzo just went at them like a grizzly and said, fuck you, keep dancing.
Hold it in.
And they just dance and shit themselves.
Do you ever about to go on stage and you wondering if you should take a shit?
I always use the bathroom before I go on stage, and I make it a point to because I know that that's a possibility.
But I've had moments where I wasn't sure
And then
if I should, and then I just dump truck.
Yeah.
Just like a load of
Well, because
lumber.
there's before you go on stage, there's a anxiety sometimes in your stomach a little bit, and then that going to the bathroom is.
Yeah, maybe that was that girl. She's
Yeah.
let her take a shit. Maybe she could perform better.
Yeah, it's a beautiful situation there when you have people that are really overweight dancing and shitting themselves on stage. That's what progress is.
Yeah, but I don't think you could blame someone when you shit yourself. You really can't.
Well,
you can't. You really can't.
Well, if you're a lawyer, there's lawyers disagreeing with you.
Well, I don't think
there's a lot of lawyers.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
because unless they specifically told you, you can't leave to take a shit.
Yeah.
Unless they specifically told her that.
No, I think she internalized it and she decided to shit herself, which to me is like, guys,
come on, you have to be able
grow up.
Well, on the other hand, though, if they did discourage them from using the bathroom, human beings have to use the bathroom.
Right.
That's ridiculous. Especially they're rehearsing. Let her take a shit in between takes.
Yeah, but also, I do respect if Lizzo was like, don't fucking use the bathroom on this tour.
If she was a hard ass.
I do respect the idea of that.
Drill
Of her just going all these girls being like, yeah, now we're finally going to get respected. And Lizzo's like, you ain't shitting on my tour. Okay? Also, there's something very funny about the idea of Lizzo walking around calling them all fat pigs. It's just, I'm sorry, but that makes me happy.
Are we sure that's true?
I don't think it's true at all. I don't know, but it makes me happy. It makes me happy
if
that
it's true.
It's hilarious and very fun. And a judge having to look at all these fat people in a courtroom and go, wait, who's what? Who's the problem?
Is fat privilege? Are fat people allowed to call other people fat? Is that okay?
It should be kind of okay, but if she's your boss, obviously it's
right.
a problem.
That's the problem.
But it's just funny to me. Let's take morality out of it. There's nothing funnier than that.
Right.
Just Lizzo walking around stage calling people fat. I mean, it's just so funny. It's an absurd world.
Well, there's a thing that happens to people when they get their own show.
Yeah.
If they've never had a show before.
Yeah.
Some of them go loony, right? Roseanne talks about it real openly, how she went loony. Brett Butler famously went loony.
Yeah.
It happens. You get all of a sudden you're kind of a dictator.
And then you're like, here's the banana.
Yeah,
Eat
I've
it.
heard quite a few sitcom stars
Eat
went
the
fucking
banana.
bonkers when they had their own show. I'll tell you a story afterwards. I got
Yeah.
a good one.
Okay.
But it's just there's these moments where you just decide that the rules don't apply. You can just fucking scream at everybody. It's the Ellen thing. You know?
Yeah.
You're the one in control of everything.
Right.
You could just fire people on a whim. You want to be feared.
Well, I think it was part of it was Lizzo was these girls they're like her too. It's weird. It's weird to have a bunch of people that are very much like you. And that might be another layer of weirdness too.
Didn't you ever watch that New Jersey reality show? What's that called?
Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
Yeah, I've watched it, of course.
They're all real similar to each other.
Yeah, they're a problem too. I wouldn't. Would you want to go on the Jersey Shore tour?
Oh, who got one of those guys got nabbed for tax evasion, right?
Yeah, he's fine. He got out.
He got out.
He got
right?
out of it. He made a mistake. People make mistakes.
It is a weird one, like a lot of these
He got
folks.
a hair gel endorsement and he didn't
A lot of these
disclose
folks
it.
get wrapped up in like fraud schemes and shit.
Well,
A
I
lot
think
of
you
reality
go
star
from
people.
having no money to money, and then you go, what the hell do I do with it? And do I
Right.
have to pay all of these taxes?
Didn't those folks on the New Jersey Housewives? Didn't the Italian guy got deported?
Yes.
That was a
Yeah, 'cause you didn't pay.
that was a tax thing too, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
They don't play.
They don't play
They don't
around.
play
Do
when you owe
reality
them
people
taxes.
get fucked over?
Yes.
Do reality show people end up getting fucked over?
Well, they become famous and they're not rich.
And then they go, oh, I have to pay?
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Well, then they try to figure out a way to keep the ball rolling.
Well, because they also got famous kind of a scam, right?
Mhm.
Reality TV is kind of a little bit of a scam. It's not like they worked on a craft, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a scam. So they're like, oh, let's apply that to everything in my life.
Yeah.
Let's apply that to
Exactly.
every single thing ever.
And they got through, right? They actually
Yeah.
made it on television.
Right.
So it becomes this like they made the shiny. They touched the ring. They were right there.
They were there. They were close.
And then they got to figure out how to get on it.
Yeah.
And then maybe the real thing is like start their own. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Come up with their own concept.
It's the
Just
reality
pitch it.
show economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a bunch of those guys that went from one show to the next. They did like a ton
And then
of-
every now and then did like that bitch from the New York Housewives did that skinny girl margarita and made like 20-30 million bucks.
Right.
So every now and then someone will like bank. They'll like hit it.
And the Beverly Hills lady who owns the restaurant.
She was rich forever.
Right.
She was rich forever.
She was already rich.
Already rich. Those restaurants suck, by the way.
Those just watching those ladies turn on each other and like, why is that so interesting to people?
Well, it's interesting because it's voyeurism, right?
Yeah,
You're like,
it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. People are like, that the first season of that Real Housewives of Orange County was actually a real good primer on the mortgage crisis because you saw like these people with these multiple houses, multiple cars. Like one guy worked at the title company, one woman was a realtor, one woman was dating a mortgage guy, and you saw how like Southern California, Irvine, California, where a lot of those companies started, a lot of those housewives lived in that area and were making money in that sector of the economy that was about to collapse. And then when it collapsed, you saw them go broke. Like some of those people went broke. And like that became interesting to people, like watching people ride high and then go low and try to like even out again. It was, you know?
When people have to downsize.
People had to downsize.
People like when watching people get humbled for
They
some
like
strange
watching people get humble for sure.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just it's fascinating to watch the waves of money's interesting because what it does not make you happy. It can make you happier. It can alleviate the pressure on you.
Yes.
But it doesn't fill your soul, right? It's not a soulful thing per se. But it is interesting watching it affect people and like watching wealthy people. There's no reality there's very few reality shows about poor people. You know, it's usually about watching rich people.
Really?
Yeah, how many reality shows are about poor people? Teen Mom, Cops, not a million.
Swamp people.
Yeah, but are they even poor? Are they poor or are they just swampy? Because like Duck Dynasty guys are rich.
Those guys already were rich.
They're rich.
Because they had duck calls.
They're just a different kind of rich.
Yeah.
They're a different culture,
They're
but it's like
country millionaires.
Yeah.
Hoarders.
Hoarders is poor. Hoarders is poor.
Hoarders is poor.
Hoarders is poor.
McMansions is you're doing okay. What is McMansions? Is that like?
There's not a lot of mansions on Hoarders, is what I was saying.
Oh,
Right.
right.
They at least own a house.
No, those are crazy people.
Yeah.
Shane Gillis turned me on to the shit hoarder. The lady who was shitting in buckets and leaving them in her house.
Wouldn't you get really sick from the fumes?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how she
Right.
survived. Her fucking biome must be
My
insane.
Strange Addiction is fun where they eat things that they shouldn't. They're
You never
addicted.
seen this one with the shit hoarder?
No.
It's so insane.
I'll have to watch that.
It's I would play it for you right now, but we've already played it with Shane.
No, yeah.
It's so insane. This lady was just like buckets of shit, like milk jugs filled with shit. She sealed them, left them in the corners.
People are odd.
She wanted to go back at the end. They were like, they got her to get out of the house. but
Yeah.
She wanted to go back for one last hurrah.
By the way, why
One
waste?
last hurrah of
why
eating contaminated food.
Why
is that
waste a minute on someone like that? If someone's like, I'm addicted to eating shit, it's almost like, hey man, today is not the.
Did you dry heave if you just watched the
Yeah,
film?
it's just
You
so funny.
dry-
Like you're debating with her, and she's like, "Why should I leave? It's my home." And you're like, "Well, it is full of shit."
The best part is at the end. She's like, "I'm not the worst one you guys ever recovered, are you?" And they're like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, they're like, You're absolutely the worst
You
one.
have literal shit in your house. And her mother grew up storing her own shit too.
Well, it's a family thing then.
It's a family.
It's just the end of it. It's not showing all the shit. I'll just like you hear talk.
And I'm going to go ahead and eat some of the contaminated food, and then the party's over. Because I have to get it, because when somebody goes on intervention, they want to get high one last time. The party ends for me tomorrow.
I like
How
her.
is eating contaminated food a party?
Why the does it matter?
I like
Listen,
her.
listen.
Poop for 12 years.
I've been eating poo for 12 years.
Out of thinking that you've got fecal matter in your food.
It's my last blaze of glory.
Look at me. This is the end of you pooping in a bucket.
No, it's not.
She's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
I'm going to watch that.
It's so hard for me to watch that and not dry heave. I have
It's
to
very
force it back.
difficult. It's very difficult, but you know, we live in a vibrant and diverse country.
Yes, we
where
do.
a lot of people, like this is my governor of California answer to that. People have a lot of different ways to live.
Do you know how haunted that space of land must be? Like they leveled her house.
It's bad.
But who's going to rebuild?
It's bad.
Who's going to rebuild? Shane Gillis. That's just his favorite episode of Hoarders with Joe Rogan.
I got to watch it. I haven't seen that
Featuring
one.
Shanna the shit hoarder.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That's wild.
And
So maybe I'm
that
wrong.
spot's-
Maybe there are more reality shows about poor people than I imagine.
I think they're funny too.
I'm sure. No, they're great.
The moonshine people, aren't they poor?
Cops.
Cops. is
Cops, I said, of
number one.
course.
Didn't
Cops.
they stop making
It's back.
cops?
It's back. They
It's
did.
back.
It's back
Fuck
now.
it. Let's go.
Yeah, they
No,
stopped
they're
right
like,
around
it's
a
bad.
moneymaker.
Yeah, the pandemic. There's a lot of
Cops is great
Anti-cop
natural
behavior.
humor. You know, crackheads are naturally funny.
Yeah, and also here's what's hilarious: you have to get those people to sign releases.
Yeah.
So those
They'd
people
probably give them $5.
Isn't that amazing?
Here's a cigarette. Sign.
Like, hey, yeah, I know you're on meth, you're
Right.
hanging out, running the street, but we sign right here. I'll give you $5.
There's no way that's
They have
hard.
that other show, the live one, where they don't have to sign a waiver. They get away with some loophole where it's live. It's a live documentary of the cops, so the people in the background are like, they're just in
Come
it.
on, even the people they arrest.
I don't that. It's all live, so I think there's a loophole with it being live.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't edit it.
Yeah.
How am I going to edit it? It's
Oh, you can
live.
get those are easy people to sign
How am I going
releases.
to edit it? It's
I
live.
could get a release a minute signed over there.
Well, this place is like when they did Crank Yankers. You could do Crank Yankers in Vegas because it was legal to record someone on the phone.
Wow.
Whereas in California, someone has to
Can't.
know. You have to say, hey, Tim, I'm recording you.
Gotcha.
But when they're doing it in Vegas, you can kind of get away with a lot of shit.
That is interesting.
Wow.
I never thought about it
Yeah,
like that.
as long as they're doing it from Vegas.
Yeah. How do you prove that? I guess his phone lines and everything.
Yeah, you'd be able to prove that.
Yeah.
I guess. But it's just, I mean, because especially if it's a television show on Comedy Central.
Right.
That was a funny show.
It was a great show.
Comics used to call people up and prank them, and they would have like
Yeah.
little stuffed animals.
It's a great
right?
show.
It was like hand puppets that were talking for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's there's weird legal loopholes, like where some states allow you to film people and they don't have to know about it, and other ones they don't.
Yeah.
And for sure, your Amazon, your Electra, and all that shit, or Alexa.
They're
those
filming
bitches
you.
are listening to
They're
you.
listening.
Yeah, but they've arrested people for murder and got the data
That
from
I'm
their
against.
Alexa.
You better catch him.
Catch
Catch 'em.
them the normal way.
Catch him the normal way.
What if it's your sister and someone stabbed your
across
sister?
this earlier looking at something else you guys are talking about.
A Roomba. Oh my God! Recorded a woman on the toilet. How did screenshots end up on Facebook? Oh my God! She took photo. The Roomba took photos of her
look, she's
pooping.
on the toilet.
Whoa, that's
Wow.
wild.
But how did it go to Facebook?
It says it's not supposed to happen. It got sold to some data company.
Ah!
Zuckerberg.
Bro, that fucking
Zuck.
whole data mining thing is so insane that we never thought of this thing as a commodity, and it's the most important commodity. It's literally responsible for some of the biggest corporations that we know of.
People want data. They want it. They want to know what you're thinking about. They want to sell you everything.
Sell you everything.
Yeah.
How many times have you been talking and you open up your phone and it shows you an ad for something that you're
Always.
talking about?
A lot
Doesn't
of
that-
times
doesn't
it'll
that
happen.
Creep you the fuck out.
It'll happen a lot of times.
Doesn't that creep you the fuck out?
I started to buy the stuff it's sending me because
Yeah, who cares? Why fight
They're sending me
it?
good
Yeah.
shit, bro.
Why fight that shit?
Why
Fuck
fight
Yeah.
it? You
Why
go, That's
fight
that
it?
makes sense.
Why fight it?
You know?
Yeah.
El Pollo Loco used to do the keto burrito, and that would always be on my phone because I would always say things about keto. And then the El Pollo Loco would be like, "Look at that! It's a
They had a
burrito.
keto burrito?
It's fake, but they called it a keto burrito. I mean,
It's
yeah,
not ketogenic?
Well, it's El Pollo Loco, so I'm taking their word for it.
Yeah, they'd have to have a low carb burrito
Yeah.
wrap, which they do make. They do make
Yeah,
some
they
weird.
do. I'm taking their word for it.
Just never taste right.
I'm taking their word for it. El Pollo Loco.
You know what it is? It's the thing you were talking about when you're eating sugar and you know you're not supposed to eat it.
It's
and you
bad.
have shame. There's a thing about like a real like quesadilla with a
Yeah.
flour
Well, dude, during
tortilla.
this movie, I did a small role in this movie, and everybody had to smoke fake cigarettes because of these dumb unions that are now on strike, solidarity. But they were like, everyone in the movie, it was like we had to smoke, and we had to smoke these herb cigarettes, and they all sucked.
Did they hurt
Except
your
the
throat?
star, who was allowed to smoke the real cigarettes.
What?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that movie.
That's right.
Yeah. That. You
The
should go
herb
on strike for that.
The herb cigarettes, they hurt your throat and they suck. So
Especially
I'm like,
you really like them cigarettes.
well,
don't
it's
you?
like I don't like to, I like an excuse to smoke. So if I'm
Right.
like, oh, it's my job.
Right, you have to.
So if I'm like, if I have to do this today because of my job, but
Yeah.
then so I was really excited because I hadn't smoked in a while. The guy goes, oh, here's the herb cigarettes. I go, what the fuck? This sucks. But
you didn't put your foot down?
no, I just did it. So, but you'll see. I don't know if I'm smoking in the scene, but I was just like, ugh, and then I just put it in the ashtray.
Did it burn your throat?
It
Was
sucks. It's
harsh?
just not the real deal.
Right, no buzz.
No buzz. No one would get addicted to them. Nobody would ever get addicted to herb cigarettes. Nobody would die from an herb cigarette.
Just the gross feeling of
The
smoke.
things
in
you
your
get
mouth.
addicted to are the good things, and they're the bad things. But there's a reason you get addicted to them because they are.
They give you something.
They give you something.
Give you a little juice.
They give you a little juice. When people end up in like the depths of a fentanyl addiction, you see these people walking around like San Francisco or downtown LA, whatever it is, you go, how the fuck do you end up that bad?
Right.
But it's the power of that drug.
Mm-hmm.
The power of that drug makes you go, yeah, I live on the street. What's about? Because they'll offer people rooms and then they go, no, I'm good. I'll just turn tricks on the street. And
Jesus Christ.
And you go, what is it? That drug is so good and it affects them in such a way that living without that feeling is unimaginable.
Yeah.
They just become a drug at the end. They're not even a human being. It's really sad.
Yeah.
But you think about it, you're like, God. And the rap at El Pollo Loco that is not that. The keto rap is not that. But the power of drugs, whether it's sugar or booze or whatever it is, people throw their marriage and their life away because of alcohol.
Yeah.
Damaged relationships with their families. Like it's amazing how powerful all that stuff is.
Yeah, and gambling. We've been talking a lot about gambling on the
Right.
show. Amazing how that gets people.
But that one's good because you could win. You could
It's true.
you
could
might.
win.
I mean, you
Might
could win.
You might win.
You might win. But I stay far away from that because I can feel myself if I play a few hands in Vegas or whatever, I can feel myself go, oh, this is, you could get into that.
Oh, yeah.
And they say that's the worst one, ironically, because there's no physical symptoms of withdrawal. And you don't have any physicality associated with it, so you could just blow everything.
Everything.
Have you ever had like a real gambling addict on?
Have we?
Well, David Cho was definitely, that was one of his
Yeah,
vices.
he had a real gambling vice.
Yeah.
Not an addict in the sense that like guys who just lose everything all the time. I know guys who are pool players who are like some of the best pool players in the world.
Yeah.
And they will play and win a tournament and win a check for like, $10,000.
Right.
And then gamble it all on the flip of a coin.
That's amazing.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
There's one guy who's famous for it. And these guys just are always in action. If they're not on the poker table, they're playing roulette. If they're not playing roulette, they're gambling at pool. If they're not gambling at pool, they're gambling at poker. They're fucking gamblers. They just gamble. They want that juice all day long. And money is just fun coupons.
It's how they live. That's how
they get their excitement
They get
from.
their excitement.
There's a fucking great book about this guy from New Jersey. His name is Kid Delicious. And they wrote this book called Running the Table, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's a guy the guy's a really good author. I think he wrote for Sports Illustrated. John Wertheim, I believe it is. Is that correct? Am I saying his name right?
It looks like it, yeah.
So anyway, it's about this guy who is this like really depressed, overweight pool player who happens to be one of the best pool players in the world, and he's only happy like when he's in action.
Right.
And he travels around the country and he documents him and his friend, this guy Bristol Bob from Connecticut, and they travel around the country playing these like high stakes pool matches where he's worried about getting killed, he's worried about getting out of the place, he's worried
Right.
about getting robbed, wild shit. But this guy was only happy when he was in action. He was only happy when he was gambling. He was only happy.
It's amazing.
I mean, when he would win, he'd be on a fucking high. And when he would lose, he would want to jump in front of a train. But he was only happy when he's gambling.
It's a binary existence, very similar to drugs. It's only being happy when you are flying high, and then when you're not, you're being crushed, right? I mean, that's a lot of, there's comics that it's easy to fall into that.
Well, that's what happened to a lot of people when they weren't getting their juice during the pandemic.
They went nuts.
They were not going on stage. Going on stage for a lot of comics is like therapy.
Yeah.
It's just this brief moment of extreme happiness that you get. This like 15 minutes of everybody having so much fun.
Yeah.
And
It's a real it's a challenge, I think, to not be manic.
Yes.
To not totally be manic, and I think all these things are drugs, right? Whether it's a fame or money or anything that's associated with any type of performance, love. People tend to get addicted to these things, and they kind of like they'll take something and they'll make it into something else. Like they'll take a reaction from an audience and turn that into love.
Yes.
When it's not love per se. You're doing a good job, but that's not love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people turn that into okay, that's the love. And that, that gets scary, and that's where people go off the rails.
Mm-hmm. It's positive energy, positive results, positive things.
Yeah, it's like people that live in Los Angeles for long enough, they tend to think their agents and managers care about them, like them, love them. They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like,
it's good to be dumped a few times.
You get the reality of the situation is you become a product. They see you as a product. They're effective at their job because they see you as a product. They can't see you as a human being, or they might see a little bit of you as a human being, but their interactions with you are, can they sell you?
Yes.
And sometimes people get pushed into doing weird shit. They end up like, there's people that will bring their clients drugs and everything just to keep them on that. Keep them on that fucking
100%
on that hamster wheel, man. And it's unfortunate.
Relationships, they always bring you booze. If you need booze,
they'll bring you anything.
If you need booze that's in my fucking rider.
Right.
I got a bottle. Fucking.
Yeah, they want you to print money.
Buffalo
and
Trace.
They don't, that's the whole thing. So
yeah, but if you request it, so the thing is,
Right.
it's like they are feeding off of whatever. Look,
for sure.
Are you really gonna like go to Bert Kreischer and say, hey, no more drinking during
No.
shows? Shut
Right.
the fuck up.
Right.
Like, come on. Party keeps rolling.
Yeah, party
Do you guys
keeps
want to
rolling.
make money or not?
Right.
Check his blood pressure. Let's go.
Right.
Show must go on. Get him the tequila. Let's go, Bert.
Yeah.
And if you're a guy like Mitch Hedberg, like somebody was probably getting him smack. Somebody knew that he had a real problem. I mean, he was getting gangrene from shooting into the same area. It got spooky, and he did not want to kick it. Had no interest in kicking it, and he was fucking brilliant. That guy was brilliant, and it's just like such a fucking weird, unique style. But that
so comedy's a weird thing to do, and it attracts people from all manners of life. But like, there's a lot of people that, people are very sensitive. They're sensitive to see different things in the world that they can make fun of, and they notice things a lot, and they are great. They have great observational talents, and a lot of those people, like very sensitive people that are taking everything in. Sometimes, like drugs and alcohol, it goes along with that because it's a way to dull yourself from the pain of having these realizations or not being healthy enough to deal with the world as it is. So you're just and music and art and comedy, they always have a lot of people that have issues, and it's being somebody who was using drugs and drinking. I haven't for 12 or 13 years. Actually, the things about that make you a drug addict actually make you a good comedian too, because like the compulsion to do drugs is similar to the compulsion to keep doing comedy or to keep doing something when it's not working and getting it to work eventually. And a lot of that type of like behavior that in a normal person's life, be like, what are you doing on Tuesday night?
Right.
You going to tell jokes?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Nobody's paying you. You go, no, but they will in 6 years. They go, what? It's crazy to normal people. But if you come from being a drug addict, where you're like, I used to go and do drugs, and I would drive to get drugs, and I would satiate myself like that. It makes sense to do something over and over and over again, and that inhibits a lot of normal people who from being comedians or whatever they want to be, Because like when I started a podcast, no one cared. I just keep fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And I was doing it myself, and it was like when you're talking to no one, and then there's a small audience that got bigger and bigger and bigger. But like what made me keep doing it is the same part of my brain that made me keep doing drugs.
Yeah.
It was the same type of compulsive thing. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's your superpower. Yeah, your ability to just bore down and keep doing something over and over and over again until you get better at it.
And it's a lot of comics, right?
Yeah, a giant percentage of us.
A lot of
Yeah,
comics.
and that's why a lot of comics get addicted to other things.
For
You
sure.
know, a lot of comics get addicted to drugs and alcohol, and a lot of comics get addicted to activities. I'm certainly guilty of that.
Right.
Specifically games. Get very, very, very addicted
Right.
to games. And I think that there's like something that happens to us where that pathway could be taken over by a positive thing
Or a
like
negative thing.
Yeah, you could just be like fully addicted to creating new material. Just
Right.
addicted. I fucking can't wait to get up stage with this
Right.
new stuff. I'm fucking juiced up. Or it can be, I can't wait to go bet my whole life savings.
Right.
Which is,
right.
They fucking do it, man.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching Dana, I was told the story too many times, but I was watching Dana White. He was down $600,000 playing blackjack. And I'm like, what? This is insanity. You wound up winning. You wound up being up like $600,000, which is even more insane. But like, what the fuck, man? When you're watching people get, and he's super rich. So for
Right.
him to get his juices flowing, it's got to be crazy money.
Yeah.
Woo!
That is crazy.
Woo! That's a different level of that
Down
shit.
600K would not be good.
And it's a different level when you have the financial means to,
To do it.
To go hard.
To do it, for
all
sure.
the time.
Yeah.
Woo!
Unhealthy.
Super crazy.
Unhealthy.
Well, I guess he likes it. Here's the thing. It's like some people like sports.
People do what they like.
Yeah.
That's a great, when you look at life like that, it's kind of one of those things that people say that sounds very, very simplistic, but then actually when you actually zoom out, it makes like,
Well, here's the thing.
People do what they like.
He seems to be pulling it off.
Yeah.
And he has for a long time. For people
Yeah.
to say like you're going to lose everything. He hasn't.
No.
So you're wrong.
Some
So-
people have a line. AA and all these things are not for everyone, right? Not everyone's an alcoholic. Some people are problem drinkers, meaning if they stop drinking, they'll be okay, right? Some people are hard drinkers. Some people can recreationally use drugs. There's all different types of people. I'm not one of those people. I can't recreationally use cocaine. Some people can, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I couldn't recreationally do comedy. I had to do it to do it.
Yeah.
Some people can. Some people are able to give themselves that type of restriction.
Have you ever been to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting? What is
Never
that like?
Gamblers Anonymous, but I know there's a lot of cross pollinations. I've been at AA where people are also gamblers. And
multiple addictions.
Multiple addictions.
And so, are they proclaiming their sobriety off of gambling and
Yeah,
stuff,
and
booze
they were people that were just drinking to fucking dull the pain of having that addiction as well.
There's a lot of guys who got into comedy from AA in Boston. They're really funny guys too.
Yeah.
Because they would go on stage and tell these stories about being shit faced and the crazy things that happened. And some of them were really funny.
Of course.
And so, quite a few of those guys wound up doing stand up from learning how to do stand up in AA
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they would just tell these stories.
Well,
I
it's
remember
also
one time
takes away your inhibitions, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you if you've been a drunk and someone who's like lived that life, when you get into comedy, you can kind of like go out there and just go and then put it all on the table and go, I'm a fuck up.
And almost all of them smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. Like
that's a
all
big
day.
well because those are drugs too.
Yeah, all day.
Those are
Smoking
drugs too.
cigarettes, drinking coffee.
Those
but
are
sober.
drugs too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to explain to someone who's not wired that way,
right,
how it works to be wired that way. It's very difficult. If someone isn't wired that way at all, and they have no addictive tendencies, and they don't do anything really passionately, and they have lots of different hobbies. I have friends that are very happy, great people. They have lots of different hobbies. None of them take them over.
Right.
None of them care that much about any one or two of them, They're just not wired that way.
Mm-hmm.
They go out to dinner, they have 2 glasses of wine. They don't finish the second one.
Right.
I go, how great? They go, yeah, who cares? I like drinking with food. I like wine with food. They go, they can have 1 cigarette occasionally. They can have, they're just wired a different way.
Yeah.
Maybe they have more discipline, but also maybe they're just wired a different way because those are the same people who like aren't trying to make millions of dollars. They're fine. I'm not saying they should, but like then I know people who they want to make a lot of money. They are addicted to a lot of different things. They switch to go from one addiction to another. It's a problem. It's very hard staying faithful to the wife or whatever. Like there's a lot of people that deal with a lot of things. Like people just wire differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you
For
can
sure.
wire yourself in a positive way and use those addictive tendencies in a positive way too.
For sure. I've seen people that literally can't drink. They drink, they have one drink, and then all of a sudden they have gerbil eyes, and they're not there anymore. There's a few people that I've met in my life that I've seen them drunk, and they have a couple of drinks, and then something
They're
shuts
just
off,
going.
and they're not there anymore. Tim's not there.
Yeah.
Who's this person?
Right.
Who's this fucking half
Yeah.
robot just wandering around?
Well, it just became for me it was all I'd care about. So if I was drinking, I'd be like, I am drinking.
Right.
Drinking is the thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
Partying and drinking. So everything else in your life that you're supposed to care about disappears.
And some of it had to be fun.
Some of it, it's a lot of fun. Listen, I don't even regret it. And when people say, you don't regret it? I go, not really, because there's a lot of fun. But what happens is you then look around and all your friends are drunks. So you start to eventually, before you know it or not, every friend of yours is a drunk or has a problem with something. And that's why you all relate to each other, because nobody's calling the other person out on being a mess.
Right.
And then all your friends that are more successful tend to move away from you.
Yeah.
And you don't realize this is happening. It's happening, but you eventually, like, you take your head up and you're so fogged out by everything that you're not, then you, like, look at the landscape of your life and go, oh, all the successful people got out of here.
Yeah.
And then all the people that are left are fellow addicts. And then you got to cut the cord and move on, not only from your addiction, but in many cases from your social circle.
Was that the harder part?
That is a very hard part. It's a hard part because you have to cut certain people, places, and things out of your life. You don't really have a choice.
And some of them you like.
You like the local bar. You like your friends. It's fun. It's comfortable. Going to the bar, being a drunk, being a funny drunk.
Yeah.
But then going, well, maybe I could be funny in another way and make money at it or whatever. That's a whole.
But did you try to go to the
thing.
bar sober? Did you try to hang out there?
I never did. If I showed you the bar I hung out, you would go, no, you don't do this sober. No, you don't do it sober because, like, you know, it's not fun sober. It's fun drunk. And this is my mother used to say, she never drank. And she was like, oh, I used to go to bar sobers. It was fun. And I'm like, right, but you're also a schizophrenic. Like, there's something weirder about the person in the bar sober having a lot of fun. That's weirder.
That is weird.
The person who's like, I'm sober, and they're drinking Diet Coke or water, they're more of a freak. Just don't go. You don't have to go. There's other things. This is part of our life where it's like, no, you can still do it. You can still go to the bar. You can still have all your friends and sober up. You can't. They're not interesting when you're not drunk. The bar's disgusting. It smells like shit. It's not cool. If you're drunk, there's nothing better than hanging out. Like I had this bar called Lisa's Lounge. The owner named it after his daughter who was killed in a drunk driving accident. Fact. And her face was on the wall of the bar, and people would toast her and go, Lisa, and then drink. It was crazy. But it was fun and it made sense when you were drunk. Oh, this girl died in a car accident with a drunk driver, and there's a bar named after her, and we're all here doing shots, toasting this dead person on a wall. This makes a lot of sense. This is fun. Then you sober up and go, motherfucker, what? Like, none of it makes sense anymore.
Right. How many people left that bar drunk driving?
Tons. All? A lot. So it's like, when you are hanging out in these places, when you're a real alcoholic, you're not going, it's not trendy, fun, cool, hip bars. It starts there, but it ends just proximity, right? So if you're around a fucking bar, you're going to go to that bar. And that was a bar up the block from my house. I could walk to it.
You remember Barfly?
Yeah.
That's like the most rosy depiction of bar culture.
Yeah, but it's the depiction that if you were drunk,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
A toast to all my friends.
Yeah. everyone is your friend at the bar. Everybody cares about you. The bartender used to lend me your car if I needed to go get cigarettes. I was hammered. She goes, take my car. I don't care. Because she was drunk. You know what I mean? She doesn't
And the
care.
brakes probably didn't work anyway.
She doesn't care. You know, I remember one guy was sitting on a stool next to one guy once. His wife brought his like 14-year-old daughter in, and she's like, look at your father. He refuses to get off this bar. He's a piece of shit.
Oh, my God.
And they both laughed. And I was just like sitting next to the guy, and it was kind of awkward. And he's like, you know, he goes, she's a real bitch, man. And I'm like,
my God.
I'm like, yeah, she seems pretty selfish. I'm like, you know, you deserve a couple of, you know, you come out, you have a couple of laughs with your friends. But like, this is a problem, right? Like, there was this woman, Marge, who used to come to bars, like shit herself. She used to call everyone faggots.
She would shit herself?
She would like shit herself, and they kicked her out once. They're like, Marge, you like shit yourself. She's like, you're all faggots. You're a faggot. You're a faggot. You're a faggot. So it's like these people are, you know, people are not well.
No.
They're not doing well there, but it's a great place to be for a minute in your life, to understand. Like, if I was a person who could never understand how people get so fucked up, like, because the next step after that bar is a fucking tent. Like, it's not that many steps. You lose your apartment, you lose your thing.
Yeah.
So to understand how it is, like, didn't Bill Hicks have that great line? He's like, anyone can be, it just takes the right bar, the right friends, the right girl, whatever it was. It was a great Bill Hicks line. It was about being homeless. He's like, anyone can be homeless, takes this. But like, to understand what it's like when you surrender your thoughtful, logical capacity in your brain to a fucking glass of alcohol and keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
I was in my early 20s just drinking these fucking, you know, bottles of vodka, right? Gin and vodka, just clear alcohol over and over again, and then doing shots. People start buying shots, Jack Daniels and Gentleman's Jack and Makers and whatever, and just drinking all the time, 3 or 4 days a week, and then 5 days a week, and then you're just really, and then people think it's funny, and then they start, you know, I tried to tell my dad about it. Like, I was trying to be like, I think I have a problem, and I was telling him about the bar I hung out in, and instead of saying like, oh, you should go to rehab, my dad's like, you know, a dirtbag bar has played a role in every Dillon's life. And he's like, you know, then he started telling me about a bar he hung out in and a bar that my uncle hung out in. And it was just like a lot of people, especially when you're Irish, it's just like, yeah, that's just part of it, son. You just go to a place 4 nights a week and you drink all your paycheck. That's just part of what we do. And it gets dark really quickly. And I think I sobered up at 25, but, you know, from 12 or 13, when you just start smoking weed and doing all that stuff, till you get to 25, it's like you see these people, all these different stages of addiction. Some people in the beginning, some people in the middle, some people at the end. That woman, Marge, is at the end. She's like an old drunk, an old woman who her whole system didn't work anymore. And she would just go, you're a faggot, you're a faggot, you're a faggot.
Just shitting herself.
Shitting herself, pissing herself, just getting sloppy, and 4:30 her daughter would have to come in and take her off the stool. This is what happens. There's no good that comes out of... There's a couple that used to hang out. This guy on the glass, his wife would spit a pill into his drink that would just make him go to sleep so she could get him out of the bar. Wow. She would just put like a pill and she would drug him. He wouldn't even know. And then she would just drag him out of the bar because he was so fucked up. This guy that owned a glass thing, a glass shop. So it's really dark. And when you're in your early 20s, some of it's funny and goofy, and you're like, this is fucking nuts that I'm hanging out here. But then you become, like, you start making fun of it, then you become it. You become the thing you're making fun of. You start going, you're ironically like, look at this fucking crazy. And then you're like, oh, I'm one of the people now sitting on this bar stool. It's not funny anymore. It's not ironic. I'm coming here to get drunk all the time.
And it's your social circle.
It becomes your social circle. All these crazy people that live in the area. And they're all fucking nuts, and they all go to the bar. And if you want Coke, it's there. And if you want weed, it's there. And people, you know, it's like that's the type of bar it was. You could just, I still drive people by it. They're like, I can't believe you hung out there. And I'm like, yeah, was it fucking alcoholic? I had a problem. They're like, you really hung out there. People just don't understand alcoholism. They're like, what do you, they're like, didn't you want to go to a club that was like fun? I'm like, no, I was a degenerate alcoholic. Like, I just wanted to be drunk. I didn't care where I was. Didn't matter. Right. I could walk to that bar. Right. And it was fun. It was a dark place, and the people were fun.
It's still around?
Oh, it's still around. It'll always be. Here's the thing. Those
Wanna say
little
the name?
Yeah, Lisa's Lounge. There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
That's it.
There it is. Doesn't that look nice?
I forgot you already said the name.
That looks nice, huh?
That looks creepy.
It's creepy.
That someone lives above it?
2 people got shot outside. They call it the double homicide. Yeah, some guy lives above it. The owner lived above it. You know what he said to me once? Where's the inside? Let's see if you can find the inside. I don't know if that's the there it is. Lisa's Lounge added a new photo. There you go. Yeah, there it is. There it is. And by the way, that's Boston. That's Long Island, right?
Yeah.
If you went to a place,
click on that one, Jamie, where your cursor is.
Yeah. It's a different one, but it's a similar game. It's like, it's one of those things where a fan of mine had a Lisa's Lounge shirt made or something crazy.
That's awesome.
But it's like, that's the type of bar where like you realize you're in real trouble when you're hanging out there. But it's also really fun because no one cares about anything. Yeah. So those environments where you can go in and go, got fired.
Yeah.
And everybody's
the
like.
4 photos on Yelp are pretty fun.
I mean, that's.
The one on the far right, that guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just what it is, man. It's like.
Pool halls are like that.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
similar. Very
for
similar.
Sure.
Similar in that way. And not everyone's not drunk, but there's a very similar thing when you walk in. I got fired today.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you do? Everybody was kind of like a misfit. They were all misfits and weirdos.
And thank God I found comedy. Thank God I found a way out because that stuff eats your life, right? Yeah. So like that will eat you if you don't get out of it.
That you found comedy, Tim Dillon.
Well, thank you.
Are you coming to club tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
You doing a
Beautiful.
Joe Rogan and
Let's
Friends?
Fucking go.
I'll go.
Let's
8 o'clock?
go. 8 and 10. 7 and 10. Sorry.
7 and 10. Can I do 10?
Tonight. You can do whatever you want.
I'm going to do 10.
Do 10.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why that's a good one later.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pool guy at my house, there's a leak, I think. We think.
Oh,
I don't
no.
know. It's fucking hot. We'll see.
Oh, no. See Tim live.
Yes,
TimDillonComedy.com.
Yes, the American Royalty Tour is on sale, and we were in Philly, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, we're everywhere. TimDillonComedy.com. Go and
one of
grab
the
tickets.
best comics working in the country.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, brother.
You're the best ranter in the game, too.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate
Thank
you. Bye.